Chapter 2029. Ding! Host has made a breakthrough. Host is now an 8th stage half-step Dao Lord. The system notified. After the breakthrough, Yixian's aura skyrocketed. He was not afraid of the Zhang family before, and now that he had made a breakthrough, he had even less to worry about. Very good. Please bring the corpses of those people here. I will revive them one by one. Of course, their cultivation cannot exceed that of an 8th stage half-step Dao Lord when they were alive, and the success rate of revival is not 100%, Yixian said. Some people's heads had been blown up. How could they be revived? Without a physical soul, even samsara Dao Lords could not be revived, right? Zhang Lingguang immediately did as he was told. Since the establishment of the Zhang family many years ago, many people had died in battle. Some corpses were scattered outside, while others were collected. Then the Zhang family dug them out one by one and sent them to Yixian. At this time, Yixian had already taken out the Sword of Life and Death. The Sword of Life in his right hand absorbed the death aura, while the Sword of Life in his left hand channeled the life aura into the physical soul in the head of the deceased. Then the person was revived. This magnificent feat shocked the Zhang family's upper echelons. Reviving the dead was truly a heaven-defying method. Long ago, the Zhang family's upper echelons had sealed off this courtyard, so no one could enter or even get close. However, this secret would definitely spread soon. After all, with so many people revived, no matter how deep the Zhang family hid, it would be exposed sooner or later. There were thousands of people in the Zhang family who could be revived, and Yixian revived all of them. It was a fair deal. Zhang Lingguang was stunned to see so many people revived. If the Sword of Life and Death was in his hands, he could revive those with high cultivation realms in the Zhang family. At this time, Yixian was done with his work. He looked at Yixian and said, "What do you want to return the Sword of Life and Death to the Zhang family?" "Don't worry, I will return it, but not now. If you really want to talk about it, you have to wait until I break through to become a Dao Lord," Yixian said. Dao Lord. When this word spread, everyone was shocked. Who the F***ck are you? You want to break through to become a Dao Lord? Many people thought so in their hearts, but in the next moment they suddenly remembered. When Yixian had won first place in the tournament, he had been a mere 4th rank half-step Dao Lord. But now, he was already an 8th rank half-step Dao Lord. What was going on? Alright, then you can stay in the Zhang family. I will personally guide you. Zhang Lingguang nodded. Having the guidance of a Dao Lord was the dream of countless people. However, Yixian wasn't interested in this at all. He had the Devouring Dao Seed and Life Dao Seed in his body. Would the guidance help? However, right at this moment, a powerful aura suddenly descended. Zhang Lingguang raised his eyebrows and stared into the distance in shock. For him to take this seriously, this person had to be a Dao Lord. Sure enough, after a short while, a man in green appeared in the sky above the Zhang residence. "Your Excellency looks unfamiliar. May I know who you are?" Zhang Lingguang asked curiously. The man in green glanced at him, then his gaze fell on Yixian. "You killed my younger brother?" Yixian couldn't help but be stunned when he heard this. He carefully recalled and found that there was a memory of this man in the Great Wood Dojo's disciple. It turned out that this man in green was that person's elder brother, and also a disciple of the Great Wood Dojo. At the same time, he was already a Dao Lord. "So what?" Yixian didn't play dumb and asked directly. "Then you deserve to die." The man in green didn't waste time and directly attacked, preparing to kill Yixian. Swish! A flaming sword chi tore through the air and instantly hit the sword immortal clone. However, what shocked the man in green was that Yixian was unharmed. "You think you can kill me with just you? You're too arrogant." The corner of Yixian's mouth curled up as his figure instantly disappeared. "I have assassination." In the next moment, Yixian appeared behind the man in green and slashed with his sword. Bam! The man in green was caught off guard. Coupled with the death sword in Yixian's hand, he couldn't resist at all and was instantly hit. The aura of death quickly spread, but the man in green also had a Dao Seed of Life. The aura of life suddenly surged out of his body and cleared away the aura of death. A Dao Soldier of Death? The man in green was shocked. A Dao Soldier of Death was a Dao soldier made from a Dao Seed of Death. It wasn't something that ordinary people could refine, not even the Dao Lord of the Great Wood Dojo. If someone with a Tao seed of death used it, its power would be greatly increased. It had to be said that Yi Xian's strength had already surpassed that of an ordinary Tao lord. However, the life Tao seed in the azure-clothed man's body had already risen from the small Tao level to the great Tao level. It wouldn't be that easy to kill him. However, Yi Xian wasn't alone. The old tree and black horn immediately came to help. Not only that, but even his original body had arrived wearing the Void Spirit divine armor. Now it was 4 against 1. Below, the group of Zhang family members were so shocked that they couldn't speak. Yi Xian really did have the strength to fight against a Tao lord. However, Zhang Lingguang was hesitating. He thought that if Yi Xian was killed by this man, he might be able to take back the sword of life and death. However, what if the other party was like Yi Xian and didn't hand over the sword of life and death? Stop! Zhang Lingguang had no choice but to shout, "Old man, shut up or I'll kill you too." The man in green roared angrily. Zhang Lingguang's expression changed drastically. Even if he didn't have the intention to attack, he couldn't do nothing after hearing this. The people below were his family members. He couldn't bring himself to be scolded in front of so many people. "Ignorant junior, I'll let you know what it means to respect your seniors." Zhang Lingguang shouted and charged into the sky. After condensing the Tao seed of sword, his combat strength was very strong. With just one sword strike, he severely injured the man in green. "Old man, how dare you injure me? I'm a disciple of the Great Wood Dojo." The man in green's expression finally changed. He didn't expect Zhang Lingguang to have comprehended the Tao of the sword, and had even improved it to the level of the Great Path. Although the Tao of life was above the Tao of the sword in terms of combat strength, it was far inferior to the Tao of the sword. "I don't care who you are. How dare you come to my Zhang family and behave so atrociously? I'll definitely make you pay." Zhang Lingguang didn't care who the other party was and continued to attack. Of course, if he knew how powerful the Great Wood Dojo was, he would definitely regret it. Unfortunately, the Great Wood Dojo's influence didn't reach here. Otherwise, Zhang Lingguang wouldn't have dared to attack no matter how bold he was. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yi Xian suddenly attacked when the man in green was sent flying. Eye of Assassination. Chapter 2030. The life sword absorbed the vitality of the man in green, while the death sword infected him with the death chi. With the combination of the two, the man in green turned into a skeleton in the blink of an eye. The life sword can actually absorb the life essence of others and strengthen my Tao seed of life. Yi Xian's eyes lit up. If that was the case, that would be great. While Zhang Lingguang was still in shock, Yi Xian quickly put away the body of the man in green and began to strip it. Ding! The host has broken through. The host is now a 9th grade half-step Tao lord. Yi Xian's cultivation level suddenly increased. He used the Tao seeds in the body of the man in green and the Qian Kuan ring to improve his devouring Tao seed to the late stage of greater mastery. Now, he was only a step away from becoming a Tao lord. If he unleashed his full strength, even a veteran Tao lord like Zhang Lingguang would be killed by him in a short time. "Old Master Zhang, please lend me the life and death sword for now. See you later." After breaking through, Yi Xian felt that it was useless to stay here any longer. Hence he laughed 3 times and left, leaving behind a group of stunned Zhang family members. If not for Zhang Feixing, he would have destroyed the Zhang family long ago. However, destroying the Zhang family would not increase his strength much, so Yi Xian decided to forget about it. At this time, he had already searched the soul of Wan Peng's body. Not only that, he had already disguised himself as Wan Peng with the mask of truth. The Great Wood Dojo had its disciples plant the giant tree of life outside to improve their strength. Wan Peng was the manager of this area and had 5 forests of death under him. Yi Xian thought to himself. This time he was preparing to go to the other 5 forests of death to absorb the essence of life and break through. The actions of the Great Wood Dojo's disciples were devoid of conscience. This time Yi Xian was going to enforce justice on behalf of the heavens. As for why the man in green was able to track him down, it was because the Tao seed of life in the long-haired man's body was given to him by the man in green and had his mark on it. Since the long-haired man was dead, the man in green could naturally track him down. Yi Xian arrived at the Forest of Death through the teleportation formation. Then, He used a bead in Wanpeng's Qian Kuan ring to easily avoid the man-eating flowers and other plants. Senior brother Wan, why are you here? Suddenly a voice sounded. Yixian looked over and found that it was a disciple of the Great Wood Dojo. At that moment, Yixian activated Assassin's Eye and flashed behind his opponent. Poochie! A crisp sound rang out, and the disciple of Great Wood Dao Lord, a 9th rank half-step Dao Lord, instantly perished. After that, Yixian kept the corpse and devoured the Dao seed. Then he used the life sword to absorb all of the life essence of the giant tree of life. Not long after, the forest of death disappeared. The Dao seed of life within Yixian's body had also improved significantly. If this continues, I'll soon break through to become a Dao Lord. His eyes lit up as he broke through the void and left, looking for the next forest of death. In the following period of time, he destroyed the remaining forests of death. However, it was not easy to upgrade the late-stage Dao seed of life to the Great Dao level. Helpless, he could only go to the next area. In this Jumu dojo, disciples were sent out to spread the branches and leaves, allowing them to cultivate on their own. Therefore, there were many areas like this. Yixian spent more than a month exterminating the death forests one by one. In the end, he finally upgraded the Dao seed of life to the Great Dao level. Ding! The host has broken through. The host is now a first-rank Dao Lord. The system notified. However, the combat strength of the Dao of life was not high, but the Dao of devouring and the Dao of raging inferno were at late-stage greater mastery. They would probably be upgraded to the Great Dao level soon. Destroying the forests of death one by one is too slow. I'd better go directly to the Great Wood Dojo. Yixian thought to himself as he rushed north. The Dao Lord of the Great Wood Dojo was a 4th-rank Dao Lord expert, and he had nearly 100 Dao Lords under his command. However, the combat strength of these people was not particularly strong. They either comprehended the Dao of rotten wood or the Dao of life. After more than a month of traveling, Yixian finally arrived at the Great Wood Dojo. The Great Wood Dojo was very different from the other dojos because it was a huge forest of death. Moreover, it was no longer in the 3rd heaven but in the 4th heaven. This huge forest of death was divided up by the Dao Lord of the Great Wood Dojo, the other elders, and the protectors. Yixian looked at the forest of death in front of him, his eyes flashing as he rushed in. According to the past, the Great Wood Dojo was a demonic sect, so Yixian was not going to show mercy. However, to make things easier, he disguised himself as Wanpeng and went in. In the Great Wood Dojo, there were some disciples on the periphery. Yixian used the identity of Wanpeng to sneak into the disciple area. When the disciple saw Wanpeng, he ignored him because he thought Wanpeng was just passing by. Unexpectedly, Wanpeng came to kill him. Eye of assassination. Yixian instantly killed the disciple, who was a 1st-grade Dao Lord. With Yixian's current realm, it was too easy for him to kill an opponent of the same level. Then he devoured the Dao seed and the essence of life, and the forest of death withered. Then he continued to move. In less than half a day, the periphery of the forest of death withered completely. Yixian killed more than 20 disciples of the Great Wood Dojo. What's going on? Why did the periphery disappear? A protector of the Great Wood Dojo who was passing by was surprised. However, at this moment, whoosh, whoosh, a gust of wind suddenly sounded behind him. When he turned around, 2 long swords pierced his body. One was the sword of life. The other was the sword of death. Coupled with Yixian's devouring Dao seed, the person's organs were instantly devoured and turned into a husk. Dead. The protector, who was a 2nd-grade Dao Lord, was instantly killed by Yixian. Looks like I have to move faster. Yixian thought to himself and quickened his pace. This time he wanted to directly enter the protector area. With his means, as long as he was careful, it was easy for him to kill a 2nd-grade Dao Lord. However, things were not that simple. At this moment, in the center of the Great Wood Dojo, a middle-aged man opened his eyes. Why are the giant trees of life in the periphery withered? The middle-aged man was puzzled. There was also a giant tree of life beside him, and it was the center of the entire forest of death. After all, he was the master of the Great Wood Dojo, and he was the one who planted this giant tree of life. Chapter 2031. However, unbeknownst to Dao Lord Juggernaut, someone else had already snuck over. It was the Sword Immortal clone who had killed the Guardians earlier. while the one sneaking over was Yixian's true body wearing the Void Spirit Divine Armor. In addition to being immune to all energy attacks, the Void Spirit Divine Armor also had extremely strong defense. In addition, its stealth ability gave Yixian a lot of convenience. Tao Lord Juggernaut, a 4th grade Tao Lord, has been lured away by the Sword Immortal clone. Let's see if I can absorb your giant tree of life. The corners of Yixian's true body's mouth curled up slightly. This giant tree of life was connected to other giant trees of life, so as long as the life sword stabbed in, it could absorb the life essence of the entire Juggernaut Dojo. However, now was not the time. Soon, the Tao Lord of Juggernaut Dojo saw the Sword Immortal clone acting as bait. "Hey dog, how dare you come to my Juggernaut Dojo and behave so atrociously? You're courting death." All the protectors and elders were alarmed by this sudden outburst. There were not many people left in Juggernaut Dojo. Most of them had gone out to hunt sacred beasts and brought them back. Now that Tao Lord Juggernaut had attracted their attention, it was time for Yixian to make his move. With a crisp sound, the life sword stabbed into the giant tree of life and began to crazily absorb its life essence. The giant tree of life was connected to the entire Juggernaut Dojo. No one would notice the loss of such a small amount of life essence. The life sword absorbed the life essence and fed it back to the Tao seed of life in Yixian's body. Yixian's understanding of the Tao of life grew deeper and deeper. Rumble. Outside Juggernaut Dojo, the Sword Immortal clone was fighting with Tao Lord Juggernaut. No, to be more precise, he was being ravaged by Tao Lord Juggernaut. Tao Lord Juggernaut was not as weak as imagined. He was much stronger than ordinary 4th grade Tao Lords. Unfortunately, his attack was completely useless against the Sword Immortal avatar. "Bastard! Let's see how you block this move of mine." Tao Lord Juggernaut roared and suddenly wrapped the Sword Immortal clone with vines. Then wisps of black aura, the Sword Immortal clone, enveloping him. Seeing this, the Sword Immortal avatar raised his eyebrows. This was the aura of death. The Tao Master succeeded. He comprehended the Tao of death from the Tao of rotten wood. This guy is dead for sure. Heavens! If that's the case, the Tao Lord has already comprehended the Tao of life and the Tao of death. In the future, he might be able to combine these two Taos and comprehend the Tao of life and death. The Tao of samsara. This is the most powerful Tao which a Tao Lord can comprehend. The group of enforcers and elders let out cries of disbelief one after another. However, the Sword Immortal avatar did not show any reaction despite being enveloped by the deathly aura. How is that possible? Tao Lord was shocked. Although he had just comprehended the Tao of death not long ago, he was already at the late stage of the primary solidification stage of the Great Tao level. How could he not be able to injure his opponent? Tisk tsk. You want to kill me with that little ability of yours? The Sword Immortal avatar grinned. You are courting death. Tao Lord did not believe it and continued to attack. Even Tao Lords of the 4th rank would have most likely perished under the aura of death. But the Sword Immortal clone seemed to be completely fine and was even able to spout nonsense. This was truly bizarre. At this moment, Tao Lord's expression changed. He suddenly sensed something and immediately said to the protectors and elders beside him, "You guys watch him." As soon as he finished speaking, he turned around and rushed towards the giant tree of life at the center of the Great Wood Dojo. This giant tree of life was connected to him. Now that it had lost so much of its life essence, how could he not sense it? Don't forget, Yixian not only had the life sword, but also the Tao seed of life. He was absorbing life essence like a mad dog. When Tao Lord arrived, he saw that there was no one there. He carefully examined the place and found that there was a gap that had not yet closed. The aura of a stranger. Who is it? Come out. Tao Lord Greatwood shouted angrily. However, no one responded. However, the Tao seed of life in his body was already at the early stage of the lesser success stage. It was extremely sensitive to living beings. He carefully sensed for a moment and discovered a person hiding in the dark. Swish! Immediately, he raised his hand and launched an attack. Good heavens, he actually discovered me. Yixian narrowed his eyes and allowed the attack to fall on his body before it dissipated. With the Void Spirit Divine Armor, he was not afraid of such an attack at all. Who are you? Tao Lord Greatwood shouted loudly. Just a nameless junior. Farewell. Yi Xian did not say anything else and directly broke through the void and left. However, he did not go far. Instead, he arrived outside Downlord Greatwood Dojo. Immediately, there was a bloody storm outside Downlord Greatwood Dojo. Rumble. A series of loud noises came from outside. Downlord Greatwood's expression changed. Now he could not leave, but he could not stay either. What if that guy came back to absorb the life essence again? However, if he did not leave, would those people be able to deal with the intruder? Immediately, he sent a voice transmission to the two elders, asking them to come over and guard the giant tree of life. Then he would kill his way out. Unexpectedly, the two elders did not respond. At the same time, the rumbling outside finally stopped. Is it over? Downlord Greatwood narrowed his eyes. However, when he sensed carefully, he felt that something was wrong. There was no one alive outside Downlord Greatwood Dojo. However, there was someone near him. Downlord Greatwood, we meet again. A familiar voice sounded. Yi Xian finally broke free of his invisibility and appeared in front of Downlord Greatwood. However, at this moment his aura was already that of a second-grade Downlord. Previously, when Downlord Greatwood returned, he was only a first-grade Downlord. However, after his original body killed his way out, he used the second-grade Downlord protectors as a springboard to break through to the second-grade Downlord realm. Then he would kill those elders. Therefore, Downlord Greatwood was the only one left in Downlord Greatwood Dojo. Who are you? Downlord Greatwood asked with a gloomy expression. You don't have to worry about who I am. Let's fight. When Yi Xian finished speaking, he had already flashed behind Downlord Greatwood. Not only that, but the Sword Immortal clone, the Old Tree, and Black Horn all appeared as well. Kill. After breaking through to the second-grade Downlord realm, Yi Xian was no longer afraid of Downlord Greatwood. This was because he knew that Downlord Greatwood had comprehended the Tao of Rotten Wood, the Tao of Life, and the Tao of Death. He did not have the Taoist that could break through the Void Spirit godly armor, so he could not harm him. Not only that, but as long as he killed Downlord Greatwood, he would be able to obtain the Tao Seed of Death, and his strength would increase by leaps and bounds. Eye of Assassination. 9-layer Heaven Devouring Flames. Devouring Dragon Roar. Yi Xian and the others used their trump cards, and the battle was very intense. Chapter 2032. Let's go. Downlord Daelord's expression changed drastically as he quickly flew into the sky. Unfortunately, not many people were able to escape from Yi Xian's hands. In the end, he was killed by Yi Xian and the others due to his depletion of Saint Power. Tao could only be used through Saint Power. Since he had exhausted all his energy, Downlord Daelord's combat power was less than 10%. Ding! Host's killing intent has increased. By the time the system notification sounded out, the corpse of the giant wood Downlord had already been put away by Yi Xian. Ding! Host has devoured a Death Tao Seed. Another Death Tao Seed appeared in Yi Xian's body. Now, he had a few Tao Seeds that had not been devoured by the Devouring Tao Seed a second time. They were the Blazing Flame Tao Seed, Death Tao Seed, Life Tao Seed, Thunder Tao Seed, Gale Tao Seed, and Rottenwood Tao Seed. It was said that the Rottenwood Tao Seed was one of the rarer ones. Although it was not ranked as high as the Life Tao Seed or the Death Tao Seed, it was not bad. However, at this moment, ding! The Life Tao Seed can fuse with the Death Tao Seed. Ding! Unable to fuse due to lack of materials. Suddenly, two system notifications caught Yi Xian's attention. The Life Tao Seed can fuse with the Death Tao Seed? What's going on? Yi Xian was puzzled and quickly searched the system's soul. It turned out that those who had the Life Tao Seed and the Death Tao Seed could use it to comprehend the Life and Death Tao Seed. This was the strongest Tao that could be comprehended. Others relied on comprehension, but Yi Xian relied on fusion. Lack of materials. Crimson Gold Tao Seed, Black Ice Tao Seed, Red Flame Tao Seed, and Violent Earth Tao Seed. Yi Xian squinted his eyes. In order to fuse the Life Tao Seed and the Death Tao Seed, he needed the 5 Elements Tao Seed. The 5 Elements Tao was relatively common, such as the Frost Tao and the Blazing Flame Tao. They could also be extended into other Taos, such as the Black Ice Tao and the Red Flame Tao. Downlord Daelord's Rottenwood Tao Seed was one of the materials. So it needs the 5 Elements Tao Seed to balance. Yixian immediately understood. However, he only had the Rottenwood Dao seed, so he had to look for the other 4 Dao seeds. But before that, it was better to absorb the life essence of the entire Great Wood Dojo first. Immediately he stabbed the life sword into the giant tree of life and began to madly absorb its life essence. This process lasted for more than a day. It was a pity that Dao Lord Giant Wood had absorbed this life essence a year ago, so there wasn't as much of it as expected. Otherwise, Yixian could have used this opportunity to break through to become a 3rd-ranked Dao Lord. From today onwards, the Great Wood Dojo would no longer exist in the 4th heaven. After the destruction of the Great Wood Dojo, Yixian immediately left and began to investigate the 4 Dao seeds. Spirit Monkey City's City Lord possesses the rare Crimson Gold Dao seed. This was the news that Yixian had found out. Coincidentally, he had heard about it in the Spirit Monkey City. The governor of Spirit Monkey City was also a rank 4 Dao Lord. He wasn't much of a threat to Yixian. His strength might even be weaker than Dao Lord Giant Wood because he comprehended the Crimson Gold Dao seed. It was mainly very strong in terms of defense. Yixian hurriedly rushed to the Spirit Monkey City's City Lord Mansion. After pausing for a moment, he rushed in. Which scoundrel dares to barge into the City Lord Mansion? The experts in the City Lord Mansion immediately leaped into the sky. But in the next moment, they were sent flying by a wave of sword chi. Yixian sensed for a moment and discovered an aura that was comparable to Dao Lord Giant Wood's. He immediately rushed over. At this moment, the Spirit Monkey City's City Lord had also discovered Yixian. What do you want? The Spirit Monkey City's City Lord asked. I want to borrow something from you. Yixian said directly. What is it? The Spirit Monkey City's City Lord was a little surprised. Yixian raised his eyebrows and said, Your Crimson Gold Dao seed. After he finished speaking, he attacked again. You're courting death. The Spirit Monkey City's City Lord immediately reacted. If he wanted his Crimson Gold Dao seed, wouldn't he have to kill him? In an instant, both sides began to fight. Since Yixian came uninvited and did not have any deep enmity with the other party, Yixian showed mercy this time. He spent some time to severely injure the Spirit Monkey City's City Lord, who had the Crimson Gold Dao seed. Then, he got Black Horn and the Old Tree to use the double devour skill to devour the Spirit Monkey City's City Lord and the others. As a 2nd stage Dao Lord, it was still possible to suppress a 4th stage Dao Lord with the Devour skill. Previously, the Devour skill was damaged because Yixian was only at the invincible Heavenly Lord realm. He had overestimated himself by trying to subdue a half-step Dao Lord. After subduing this group of people, Yixian used the Immortal Grade Devour skill to forcefully extract the Dao seeds from their bodies. In this way, these people would not die. Yixian had shown mercy. I've got the Crimson Gold Dao seed. I'm still missing the Black Ice Dao seed, Red Flame Dao seed and Violent Earth Dao seed. After Yixian finished thinking, he did not leave immediately. Instead, he got Black Horn and the Old Tree to absorb the entire Spirit Monkey City into the Devour skill. After Spirit Monkey City was absorbed into the Devour skill, Yixian heard a system notification sound. Ding! The 6th round of the Sect Chain mission is completed. Reward: 3 Devour points. The reward this time was really good. Yixian directly received 3 Devour points. However, the 7th round of the Sect Chain mission was a little tricky. It was to find an 8-star disciple who was at the Samsara Dao Lord realm. What a joke. Yixian was not even a Samsara Dao Lord yet. How could he find such a disciple? Therefore, this mission was directly ignored by Yixian. He would deal with it later. Then, he searched the souls of those who were subdued to see if there was any news of the other 3 Dao seeds. After a search, there was indeed one. This piece of information was the Violent Earth Dao seed, so he immediately acted. During this period of time, Yixian was constantly on the move. Occasionally, when he passed by cities, he would absorb them into the Devour skill. However, there were too few 8-star talents. They were hard to find, so Yixian was very calm. While searching for the 3 Dao seeds, he finally broke through to the 3rd-ranked Dao Lord realm. At the same time, he also collected 4 of the 5 elemental Dao seeds. Now, only the Black Ice Dao seed was left. It is said that there is a Black Ice Abyss. There is a Dao Lord Black Ice there. He condensed the Black Ice Dao seed. However, he is a 7th-ranked Dao Lord. It will not be so easy to get his Tao seed. Yixian thought to himself. What allowed him to break through to the third-rank Tao Lord realm was the Devour Tao seed. Therefore his current strength was not bad. He was confident in facing a 7th-rank Tao Lord, but he was not 100% sure. Let's go and take a look first. Chapter 2033. The Black Ice Abyss was actually a dark land of extreme ice. It was surrounded by black ice crystals that constantly emitted a black aura. If an ordinary person came into contact with it, they would be corroded into nothingness if they were not strong enough. Yixian was wearing the Void Spirit Divine Armor, and was immune to this aura. However, just in case, he still sent his Sword Immortal clone to scout ahead. It was said that Tao Lord Black Ice had a few disciples under him. If these people also formed the Tao Seed of Black Ice, then Yixian would not need to attack Tao Lord Black Ice. The Black Ice Abyss was very famous in this area. Many people chose to enter to train because there was a type of black ice grass that grew there. It was very valuable. Along the way, Yixian encountered many people. Needless to say, they were all sucked into his devouring space. However, on the second day after Yixian entered the Black Ice Abyss, roar! Suddenly a roar entered Yixian's ears. He looked up and saw a huge black dragon sweeping over from the horizon. This is the Black Ice Dragon. Yixian raised an eyebrow. It was said that this Black Ice Dragon was created by Tao Lord Black Ice, and was in charge of stopping those outsiders. This meant that Yixian was already at the edge. If he went any closer, he would be attacked by the Black Ice Dragon. No, this Black Ice Dragon charged straight at Yixian. Yixian had already entered its attack range. Just in time, Yixian shouted and summoned the old tree and the other two. In this realm, humans were supreme. All other creatures had to stand aside. What was a mere Black Ice Dragon to him? Yixian's Devouring Tao seed was already at the late nascent Tao level. When combined with other Taos, its attack power was not to be underestimated. What surprised him was that his attack couldn't hurt the Black Ice Dragon. It's at least a 6th grade Tao Lord. Yixian's expression darkened as he quickly dodged the Black Ice Dragon's attack. However, it was at this moment that Yixian saw a Black Frost Tao seed in the Black Ice Dragon's body. It really came knocking on my door. The corners of Yixian's mouth slightly curled up. That Black Ice Tao seed was the Black Ice Tao seed. No wonder this Black Ice Dragon was so strong. It turned out that it had the Black Ice Tao seed as its core. This meant that if Yixian killed it, he would be able to gather the 5 Tao seeds. Immediately, he pulled out the Death Sword and flashed to the back of the Black Ice Dragon. Then he viciously stabbed it. The Death Sword could only penetrate by 30%, and this was because of the effect of the devouring power and death chi, otherwise it would not be able to break through. Roar! The Black Ice Dragon roared towards the sky, then turned around and charged towards Yixian. Yixian did not retrieve the Death Sword. Instead, he quickly turned invisible. He had to be careful against such a ferocious beast. After all, this Black Ice Dragon specialized in physical attacks. If he was bitten or scratched, Yixian did not know if the Void Spirit Divine Armor would work. Sword Immortal Clone, charge into its body. Yixian immediately gave the order. The Black Ice Dragon opened its mouth and charged at the Sword Immortal Clone. Then the Sword Immortal Clone took the initiative to charge in. As for Black Horn and the old tree, they attacked with all their might. But surprisingly, after the Black Ice Dragon was injured, it could gather the melted black water droplets again. In other words, it had the ability to recover. I don't believe it. Watch me kill you. Yixian and the Sword Immortal Clone worked together. As long as they could trigger the one-hit kill effect, the Black Ice Dragon would instantly collapse. However, it did not seem to be that easy. Yixian had no choice but to use his ultimate move. Sword Immortal descends. First Sword Immortal Ascension. He turned into a stream of light and stabbed the Black Ice Dragon with the first Sword Immortal Ascension. However, this attack was useless. Even though he had used the slaughter mode and his holy power and constitution were greatly improved, this Black Ice Dragon was still a product of Tao. If he wanted to fight against Tao, even if he was 10 times stronger, he was not qualified. If I don't kill you, my surname is not Yi. Yixian's eyes flashed. He immediately used the time reversal skill again. He did not believe that he could not kill this Black Ice Dragon. If the first Sword Immortal Ascension did not succeed, Then he would try 10 times, 20 times, 50 times, or even 100 times. For this black ice Tao seed, he had put in a lot of effort. Soon he charged in again and used the first sword Immortal Ascension on the black ice dragon. Unfortunately, it failed again. Yi Xian used the time reversal skill again and returned to the past. He repeated this again and again. There was really a small chance that he would encounter it. Finally, after repeating this for more than 30 times, he encountered a stroke of luck. Gotcha! A crisp sound rang out. The black ice dragon's ice crystals began to fall, and then the black ice Tao seed in its body appeared. I finally killed you. Yi Xian's eyes flashed. He quickly put away the black ice Tao seed. Ding! Host has gathered the materials to fuse the Tao seed. Will you fuse the Tao seed of life and the Tao seed of death? Yes, Yi Xian replied. Ding! Host has obtained the Samsara Tao seed. The system notification sounded. Hearing this, Yi Xian's eyes lit up. He quickly devoured the black ice Tao seed. The Samsara Tao seed was formed. The three realms of half-step Tao Lord, and Tao Lord of Life and Death did not mean that one could only break through to Tao Lord of Life and Death after forming the Tao Seed of Life and Death. It was just that the Tao Seed of Life and Death was the most powerful Tao that one could comprehend in these three realms. Yi Xian felt that the current him should be able to take care of a black ice dragon. However, at this moment, changes in the world? Yi Xian raised an eyebrow as he sensed the changes in his surroundings. In the next moment, he saw the ground crack open. Then, one figure after another shot out from the ground. These figures were made of human bones, ice corpses, and beast corpses. However, without exception, they all came back to life. Yi Xian had fused with the Samsara Tao seed and brought the dead back to life in this area. Even the bones began to grow flesh for no reason. What's going on? Didn't I die? Damn, I'm a skeleton now. Roar! These people and beasts all looked on in disbelief. However, even if they came back to life, they would be very weak. This was because the Tao seed would not reform. I don't care what you are. Get in. Without another word, Yi Xian released Black Horn and the old tree and swallowed them into the devouring space. However, the commotion attracted the attention of some people in the depths of the black ice abyss. Before Yi Xian could leave, several figures flew over. Chapter 2034. 3 5th-ranked Tao Lords and a 6th-ranked Tao Lord Black Ice Dragon. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. He had fused the most powerful Taos he could comprehend at his current level, and was anxious to test his skills. That phenomenon just now was the result of someone condensing the Samsara Tao seed. There's only one person here. Could it be him? The eyes of the leading black-robed youth flashed as he quickly surrounded Yi Xian. At this moment, there was still a steady stream of people emerging from the ground, but the newcomers clearly felt that Yi Xian wasn't with them. You're the one who condensed the Samsara Tao seed? The leading youth asked. That's right. Are you jealous? Yi Xian smiled. They thought that Yi Xian would pretend that he didn't know anything, but he actually admitted it. After hearing this answer, a look of greed flashed through the leading youth's eyes. A single Samsara Tao seed was extremely precious. Even Samsara Tao Lords might not necessarily be able to obtain one. Who would have thought that they would actually see one? As long as they killed Yi Xian, they would be rich. Even if they didn't, they would be able to comprehend it themselves. But would it be that easy? Go, capture him and let Master deal with him. The leading youth immediately shouted. They were all 5th-ranked Tao Lords, while Yi Xian was only a 3rd-ranked Tao Lord. However, Yi Xian was within the Black Ice Dragon's attack range. To be able to walk there unscathed meant that he was definitely not an ordinary 3rd-ranked Tao Lord. You're courting death. Yi Xian withdrew his smile that was not a smile and quickly made his move. In the blink of an eye, he and his sword immortal clone had insta-killed one of them. What? The leading youth was shocked. A moment later, Yi Xian flashed behind him and slashed out with his sword. Rip! A crisp sound rang out as the leading youth was struck in the back and turned to dust. The Samsara Tao seed was the product of the fusion of the Tao seed of life and the Tao seed of death. Its power of death had been greatly increased, so it was able to insta-kill its opponent. This was not the main point. The main point was that Yi Xian did not use the death sword just now. The current him no longer needed it. Gotcha! 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 At this moment, A series of crisp sounds were heard as the second black ice dragon was killed by Yi Xian and the sword immortal avatar, another Dao seed of black ice. However, this was of no use to Yi Xian, so it was directly devoured by the devouring Dao seed a second time. However, just as Yi Xian was about to leave, another figure appeared in the sky. This person was a black-clothed old man. Dao Lord Blackfrost, eh? Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and watched as the other party arrived. My disciples are all dead, and I even lost 2 black ice dragons. Are you the one who did it? Dao Lord Blackfrost looked at Yi Xian. Exactly. Yi Xian nodded. In that case, you deserve to die. Dao Lord Blackfrost immediately attacked. In fact, he knew that Yi Xian had condensed a Samsara Dao seed in his body, so he wanted to kill him and seize the treasure. I'm afraid you're not qualified. Yi Xian's lips curled up slightly, and in the next moment his aura surged. He broke through to become a 4th grade Dao Lord. Die! Yi Xian and the sword immortal avatar instantly flashed behind Dao Lord Blackfrost and slashed down. Bam! Before Dao Lord Blackfrost could react, he was hit by the sword, and the aura of death spread instantly. Oh no! His expression changed and his eyes flickered. The piece of black ice on his back fell off as a black ice crystal. The Dao seed of black ice could turn his entire body into black ice, except for his heart and brain. After this piece of black ice left his body, he instantly healed his injuries. Not bad, you're quite capable. Yi Xian nodded slightly. The combination of the devouring power and the power of death made his attack very powerful. If that sword had hit Dao Lord Blackfrost's head, he would probably have died. However, at this moment Dao Lord Blackfrost's body suddenly began to expand, and in the blink of an eye, he turned into a black ice giant. This black ice giant was formed by Dao Lord Blackfrost, and its strength was more than 10 times stronger than the black ice dragon. However, this helped Yi Xian instead. Eye of Assassination. Yi Xian and the sword immortal avatar began to attack crazily. The combination of the devouring power and the power of death could instantly break through a layer of black ice defense. Although this black ice defense was formed by the Dao seed of black ice, it required the support of sacred power. Once the sacred power was exhausted, it would be his death. Boom! 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 A series of loud sounds rang out. The black ice giant's attack was not weak, and the entire black ice abyss seemed to be trembling. However, to maintain such a large black ice giant, it would probably consume a lot of sacred power. Indeed, in less than half a minute, the black ice giant had shrunk by a size, and Yi Xian was not injured at all. Damn it! Dao Lord Blackfrost's expression changed. He actually gave up attacking Yi Xian and ran towards the depths of the black ice abyss. You want to run after showing off? Yi Xian raised an eyebrow and followed while attacking. When Dao Lord Blackfrost returned to the black ice abyss, his body had shrunk by a size. However, Yi Xian finally understood why he had returned to the depths. It turned out that there was a teleportation array there. Dao Lord Blackfrost wanted to ask for help. Don't even think about it. Yi Xian quickly slashed out several times, preparing to break the array. However, it was not that easy. Since that was the case, he would kill Dao Lord Blackfrost before the other party's reinforcements arrived. Die! Yi Xian began to attack crazily. In less than 3 seconds the black ice giant had shrunk again. Swish! At this moment, a sword chi suddenly tore through the air and landed on the back of the black ice giant. In the next moment, Dao Lord Blackfrost's layer of black ice armor instantly collapsed. One-hit kill. He had actually triggered the one-hit kill effect. Yi Xian did not expect his luck to be so good as to trigger the one-hit kill effect twice in one day. Before Dao Lord Blackfrost could react, Yi Xian directly attacked behind him. Flying Star Sword Art. 9-star chain. Stop. Poof. 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 9 muffled sounds rang out in a row. Dao Lord Blackfrost's head was turned into a sieve. Then Yi Xian quickly put away Dao Lord Blackfrost's corpse and looked carefully. He saw that an old man had already arrived here through the teleportation array. This aura was at least an 8th grade Dao Lord, or even a 9th grade Dao Lord. Bastard! The old man cursed angrily and attacked Yi Xian. He was so fast that even Yi Xian could not dodge. The attack landed on the Void Spirit Divine Armor and was instantly dispersed. Yi Xian was unscathed. Yi Xian has never courted death. Chapter 2035. Crack. For the first time, the Void Spirit Divine Armor was shattered. Yi Xian was also sent flying by the huge force. However, the Void Spirit Divine Armor and Yi Xian's injuries were healed by the Immortal Phoenix bloodline in the next moment. I've triggered 2 one-hit kills today. I might be able to trigger a 3rd time. I don't believe I can't kill you, Yi Xian thought to himself as he attacked again. However, this person was a 9th grade Dao Lord expert. He was not someone he could fight against at the moment. In less than 3 seconds, Blackhorn and Old Tree were killed nearly 10 times. Yi Xian was also severely injured several times. It seemed that they were no longer a threat to this old man at the moment. Let's go. Yi Xian's eyes flashed. He immediately separated from the Sword Immortal clone. The old man turned around and finally decided to chase after Yi Xian. However, Yi Xian had another trick up his sleeve. He could switch places with the Sword Immortal clone. Then he could break through the void and leave the Black Ice Abyss. I don't believe you can catch up to me. Yi Xian looked at the Scarlet Kill character in the sky and used the Eyes of the Void to leave. Even if the old man had left an imprint in his body, it would take him several days to catch up. Let me see who you are. Yi Xian immediately asked Wei Zhentian to search Dao Lord Black Ice's soul. In the next moment he knew the old man's identity. So it's Dao Lord Black Ice's father, Lu family's head, Lu Feng. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. Since that was the case, he might as well kill his way to the Lu family. As long as he made another breakthrough, he should be able to fight this guy. Immediately, he broke through the void again and asked the Sword Immortal clone to attract the old man's attention. Then, his main body would take the opportunity to act. Unfortunately, the old man had left an imprint on his main body. Since the Sword Immortal clone was in an invincible state, the old man could not leave an imprint. Therefore, the Sword Immortal clone was on the way. The old man charged at Yi Xian. Then, the Sword Immortal clone took advantage of the time when the old man was away to teleport to the Lu family through the teleportation array. Immediately, a reign of terror was set off. The Lu clan still had several rank 8 Dao Lords, as well as more than 10 rank 7 Dao Lords. However, the Sword Immortal clone was an invincible figure. He alone was enough to take on the entire Lu clan. What? You've killed your way to my Lu family? Lu Feng was shocked and immediately turned around. He had received a message saying that a mysterious expert had challenged the entire Lu clan by himself. Many people had already died, and the entire Lu clan could not do anything to him. Unfortunately, when he returned to the Black Ice Abyss, he discovered that the teleportation formation had been destroyed. It was Blackhorn and the Old Tree who had destroyed the teleportation array. Lu Feng was infuriated. He killed Blackhorn and Old Tree before heading north. It would take some time to get from the Black Ice Abyss to the Lu family. With his speed, it would take at least 2 days. Time was nothing to him. But don't forget that the Sword Immortal avatar was still in the Lu family. 2 days of continuous fighting was enough to turn the Lu clan upside down. Moreover, Yi Xian had already used the Sword Immortal avatar technique to appear in the Lu clan. This battle lasted for quite some time. Yi Xian first used the Void Spirit Godly Armor's invisibility effect and the Eye of Assassination to kill those Lu clan members with lower realms. Ding! Host has broken through. Host is now a rank 5 Dao Lord. After devouring those people's Dao seeds, Yi Xian finally broke through to become a rank 5 Dao Lord. Not only that, but Old Tree, Blackhorn, and the Sword Immortal avatar also reached this realm. Now they were a threat to those rank 8 Dao Lords. However, these people would be left for last. He would deal with those rank 8 Dao Lords and below first. In less than half a minute, only 3 rank 8 Dao Lords were left in the Lu clan. The rest were all annihilated by Yi Xian. Then the 3 rank 8 Dao Lords also died in Yi Xian's hands. After that, the entire Lu clan no longer had any experts who could resist Yi Xian. They were all sucked into the Devour space. Now Yi Xian was waiting for Lu Feng to return. Lu Feng rushed back with all his might, but he could not find any of his clansmen. This made him very anxious. However, by the time he arrived, he found that the Lu clan had already disappeared. At this moment, several figures were waiting for him in the air. You did this. Lu Feng looked at Yi Xian and said coldly, "That's right. As long as you kill me, you'll know where they are." Yixian nodded. In that case, die. Lu Feng did not say anything else and attacked directly. Previously, his son Dao Lord Black Ice had sent him a message saying that Yixian had formed a Samsara Dao seed in his body. If he could obtain this Samsara Dao seed, all the Lu clan members who had died in battle could be revived. In addition, his combat strength would increase exponentially. When he broke through to Samsara Dao Lord, his strength would be incomparable to others of the same level. Rumble. Suddenly, a loud sound rang out in the air. The battle between the two sides was very intense. As the strongest person in the Lu clan, Lu Feng was indeed very strong. He could be considered to be half a step into the Samsara Daylord level. However, no matter how strong he was, he could not be compared to Yixian. Even Lu Feng didn't dare to take Yixian's attacks lightly, as he had formed the life and death Dao seed. The key to this battle was still Saint Power. Lu Feng did not have the immortal phoenix bloodline in his body, so he could not last as long as Yixian. After a minute, his Saint Power was almost depleted. After all, he had to withstand the attacks of Yixian and the other three. Die! At this moment, Yixian's eyes flashed. He slashed out with his sword and landed on Lu Feng's back. Although Lu Feng was strong, he could not withstand the deathly aura of the Samsara Dao seed. His back was instantly exposed. Then Old Tree Black Horn and the Sword Immortal clone used their trump cards and killed Lu Feng. Ding! Host's killing intent has increased. After Lu Feng died, a system notification sounded in Yixian's mind. Yixian quickly went over and put away Lu Feng's corpse. He then refined the Dao seed. Ding! Host has broken through. Host is now a rank 6 Dao Lord. Yixian had devoured many Dao seeds before. Now that he had obtained 3 late-stage Dao seeds from Lu Feng, he had broken through. He estimated that he would soon break through to become a rank 7 Dao Lord. Yixian had developed a habit. He would let Wei Zhentian search the souls of those he took away. Perhaps he could get some interesting information. Immediately, he began to search Lu Feng's corpse. This search gave him a fright. Lu Feng encountered a devourer before? Yixian raised an eyebrow. He had seen a devourer with the devourer mark in Lu Feng's memories. It seemed that this was a bonus. However, that devourer mark was very strong. It was even stronger than Lu Feng, who was a rank 9 Dao Lord. Therefore, it should be a Samsara Daylord level. Chapter 2036. Let's go. Yixian immediately set off on his journey. Lu Feng had encountered the devourer beast at a lake in the north. He was just passing by and had a fierce battle with the devourer beast before escaping with serious injuries. Yixian spent more than a month on his journey. After more than a month, he finally arrived at the lake where Lu Feng had encountered the devourer beast. Yixian quickly sent the Sword Immortal Avatar to check on the lake. Indeed, there was a devourer beast at the bottom of the lake. It was a huge python. When the Sword Immortal Avatar saw the python with the devourer mark, he immediately launched an attack. However, even with the Dao seed of life and death, the Sword Immortal Avatar's attack could not hurt the python. However, it had angered the python. The python opened its bloody mouth and stupidly swallowed the Sword Immortal Avatar into its stomach. Such an action was as good as courting death. If an ordinary sacred beast was swallowed into the python's stomach, it would have been digested in no time. However, the Sword Immortal Avatar was invincible. The digestive fluid did not have any effect on him. Instead, it gave the Sword Immortal Avatar an opportunity. The scales of the devourer beast were very strong. Even Lu Feng could not break through them. However, the insides of the python were much weaker. The Sword Immortal Avatar madly attacked from the inside. In a short while, the devourer beast had several large holes in it. Fresh blood dyed the entire lake red. Yixian smelled the pungent smell of blood and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. This time it was not bad. He had earned another devourer point. Hiss! Suddenly a sharp hiss was heard. After the devourer beast shrieked, it fell down with a loud crash. It was dead. Then the Sword Immortal Avatar quickly kept the corpse and devoured it. Ding! Host has devoured the corpse of a super devourer beast. The reward is 1 devourer source. The system notification rang in Yixian's mind. After hearing it, Yixian was stunned. Super devourer beast? Previously, He had encountered a low-level devourer beast and even cultivated a mid-level one. But now he had encountered a super devourer beast. Moreover, the reward was not devourer points but devourer source. This time it was awesome. Holy shit. The first devouring source allowed the devouring system to level up. The second devouring source allowed the devouring system to level up to the immortal grade. Now there's another one. Doesn't that mean? Thinking of this, Yixian's eyes lit up. At this time the system prompted again. Ding! The celestial level devouring system can be upgraded. Do you want to proceed? Yes. Yixian answered without hesitation. What a joke. How could he not level up after obtaining a devouring source for free? Ding! The celestial level devouring system is upgrading. All major systems are temporarily shut down. The system prompted. So be it. It wasn't like Yixian didn't have a deep grudge against him. At worst he could just rest for a while. Next he rested nearby. He wondered what new tricks the system would have after the upgrade. This upgrade took more than a month. After more than a month. Ding! The immortal grade devouring system has been successfully upgraded to divine grade devouring system. When the system notification rang out, Yixian woke up from his sleep. The system upgrade was finally completed. Before he could take a closer look at the upgraded divine grade devouring system, the system prompted again. Ding! The system upgrade is successful. You are rewarded with 2 bloodline fusions. Do you want to proceed now? Bloodline fusions? Hearing this, Yixian narrowed his eyes slightly. According to his previous experience, bloodline fusions were to fuse combat bloodlines, physique bloodlines, and support bloodlines into one bloodline. He now had 6 types of bloodlines in his body so he could fuse them twice. This was the key to increasing his strength quickly. Yes. Yixian answered immediately. Ding! Bloodline fusions begin. Ding! Bloodline fusions. The host has obtained the Divine Sword bloodline and Divine Battle bloodline. The fusion of the bloodlines was completed in the blink of an eye. Divine Sword bloodline and Divine Battle bloodline? Yixian raised his eyebrows. The Divine Sword bloodline reminded him of when he was in the mortal world. He had also fused with the Divine Sword bloodline once. However, there was a Void God bloodline behind the Divine Sword bloodline at that time. The Divine Sword bloodline now was the real Divine Sword bloodline. No, it couldn't be considered the real Divine Sword bloodline. Yixian noticed that there was a note behind the Divine Sword bloodline. Demigod bloodline? Yixian was stunned. He quickly checked and found that the Divine Battle bloodline was also at the demigod level. Ding! The host is currently a 6th grade Dao Lord. The requirement to fully unlock the bloodline is to prove the divine position for the host. The system prompted. Prove the divine position? Does that mean I will become a god? Yixian immediately understood. Only by becoming a god would he be able to fully unlock the bloodline. After fully unlocking the Divine Sword bloodline, it would be called the Unparalleled Divine Sword bloodline. After fully unlocking the Divine Battle bloodline, it would be called the Supreme Battle God. However, both bloodlines had yet to be fully unlocked, so they were only at the demigod level. Yixian didn't care too much and quickly fused the 2 bloodlines. Ding! Divine Sword bloodline fusion. Ding! Divine Battle bloodline fusion. The system prompted again. The Divine Sword bloodline is formed by the fusion of the Sword Immortal bloodline, the Divine Beast Envoy bloodline, and the Spacetime bloodline. The Divine Battle bloodline is formed by the fusion of the Immortal Slaying bloodline, the Immortal Eye Unicorn bloodline, and the Immortal Phoenix bloodline. Yixian was shocked when he checked the abilities of the 2 bloodlines. They were too powerful. Although they had yet to be fully unlocked and some abilities had yet to be revealed, the current abilities were already heaven-defying. The Divine Sword bloodline had 3 advancement paths. The first advancement path was called the Divine Sword path. The second advancement path was called the Divine Sword body. The third advancement path was called the Sword Servant. The Divine Sword path had absolute understanding and control of the sword. In addition, it had 2 skills. The first skill was the Divine Sword technique. After using it, one could form a divine sword that could split the sky. If one was hit by this divine sword, no matter who it was, they would be killed instantly. Not to mention other things, this divine sword technique alone was extremely terrifying because it was a true one-hit kill divine skill. However, this divine skill's cooldown time required a large number of swords to recover, just like the unicorn's descent. The second skill was called the sword explosion. Within a certain range, Yi Xian could make the enemy's sword explode and severely injure the enemy. Those were the abilities of the Divine Sword Path's advancement path. Then, the second advancement path was the Divine Sword Body. It could suppress 30% of the surrounding non-sword cultivator's strength and 10% of the sword cultivator's strength. Chapter 2037. In addition, the body of the sword god could reduce sword wounds by 30%. However, there was no way to reduce sword chi damage. Yi Xian had the ethereal divine armor, which could make up for this shortcoming. The third advancement path of the sword god bloodline, Sword Servant, was to summon sword servants to assist in battle. Currently, there was not a single sword servant, but there was a sword god clone, which was the sword immortal clone from before. If one could obtain a specific item, they could continue to summon sword servants, such as the immortal sword servant, 100 beast sword servant, shadowless sword servant, and so on. Although all sword servants would die except for the immortal sword servant, they could be summoned again once the cooldown was over. Moreover, there was no limit to the number of sword servants that could be summoned at any time. Yi Xian could summon all of them. Most importantly, every sword servant had a special characteristic. As long as they were activated, Yi Xian would be able to obtain unimaginable abilities. For example, as long as Yi Xian activated the immortal sword servant, Yi Xian would have the ability to revive once. In simple terms, every sword servant had its own special characteristic. Once activated, Yi Xian would be able to obtain certain abilities. After Yi Xian finished reading the 3 advancement paths of the sword god bloodline, he was so shocked that he could not speak. It was already so powerful before it was fully activated. How powerful would it be if it was fully activated? However, what made Yi Xian feel helpless was that the sword god bloodline was the product of the fusion of the sword immortal bloodline, the imperial divine envoy bloodline, and the space-time bloodline. The advancement paths of the imperial divine envoy bloodline and the space-time bloodline did not seem to stand out in the sword god bloodline. It was either overshadowed by the sword immortal bloodline, or it had not been activated yet. Time reversal is gone, and so is time control. It seems that I can no longer load to kill monsters in the future. Yi Xian thought to himself. However, the sword god bloodline was already very powerful. After all, it was only at the demigod level. Then Yi Xian continued reading the battle god bloodline. The battle god bloodline was the fusion of the immortal slayer bloodline, the immortal eye unicorn bloodline, and the immortal phoenix bloodline. This bloodline also had 3 advancement paths. The advancement path of the war god tyrant body had 3 effects. First, the divine war physique. Apart from greatly increasing one's physique, it also had the effect of the immortal phoenix bloodline, allowing it to heal injuries without limit. Secondly, as long as one's body was injured, one's strength would increase. The more serious the injury, the greater the increase in strength. This effect could be used in conjunction with super recovery. As long as super recovery was suppressed, the injuries would not heal. These were the 2 effects of the first advancement route of the war god bloodline, the war god tyrant body. Following that was the second advancement path, the war god mount, which was to summon a divine beast mount to assist in battle. The third path was called the war god domain. This was also a skill. Once the war god domain was unleashed, it could forcefully envelop a person and engage in a one-on-one battle with Yi Xian. Within this domain, Yi Xian's strength would increase. As long as he could defeat his opponent, the increase in strength would be maintained for a period of time. However, if Yi Xian was defeated, then his strength would be permanently reduced by 10%. This was the effect of the war god bloodline. Although it was less than before, Yi Xian's strength had increased. One had to know that these 2 bloodlines had yet to be fully activated. If they were fully activated, they would definitely be even more powerful. The sword god bloodline and the war god bloodline, although they are only at the demigod level, they have greatly increased my strength. The current me might even have the strength to kill a Samsara Dao Lord. Yi Xian thought to himself. There was still a huge gap between Samsara Dao Lords and Dao Lords. Yi Xian was only a rank 6 Dao Lord. It was already quite good that he had such confidence. Right now he wanted to find a Samsara Dao Lord to fight. However, at this moment he discovered something else. There were only 2 demigod bloodlines in the bloodline window, and it could not be used. This meant that he could only fuse with 2 bloodlines in the future. Whatever. This bloodline window might be hidden like the other systems and only be activated at certain times. At this thought, Yixian thought of the sex system. Didn't that system only activate at the end? However, right at this moment, ding! The system has created a bloodline holder with 4 bloodlines. The host will receive a reward for killing the bloodline holder. Suddenly, a system notification sounded in Yixian's mind. Bloodline holder? Hearing this, Yixian narrowed his eyes. This guy really came at the right time. He was just about to find a person to fight when the system created one for him. Not bad, not bad. Although 2 of the 6 bloodlines had been fused, the system had actually kept some skills. For example, the Death Pursuit command, the Eye of Assassination, the Eye of Insight, and so on. Yixian did not know where the bloodline holder was, so he directly took out the Death Sword. Then he summoned the Sword God clone, Black Horn, and the old tree to set up a defense around him. Now Yixian only had 2 clones and 1 main body left. Previously, after the bloodline fusion, he forcefully fused 3 into 1, which was his main body. As for the other 2 clones, one was in the mortal world, and the other was in the second heaven. Therefore, at this moment he could not split them. This made him feel a little regretful. If he had known this would happen, he would have split his doppelganger. That way, he would have had 2 more doppelgangers. Fortunately, he still had the avatar of Ares in the mortal world and in the second heaven, so there was no need to be afraid. He stood in place and waited for a while. A few days later, an aura descended. This aura was at the level of a 9th grade Tao Lord. Is it you? A young man looked at Yixian and said with narrowed eyes. Are you looking for me? Yixian asked. Unexpectedly, this young man attacked directly. He was the holder of 4 bloodlines created by the system. These 4 bloodlines were the Immortal Eye Unicorn bloodline, the Immortal Phoenix bloodline, the Divine Beast Envoy bloodline, and the Immortal Slayer bloodline. Therefore, his Tao of Raging Flames was very terrifying. However, this was useless against Yixian. Bang! The flaming sword Qi hit the Void Spirit godly armor and immediately disappeared. At the same time, the Sword God clone had already swiftly attacked the back of the opponent. However, the Sword God clone was only a 6th grade Tao Lord. Its combat strength was still not enough. Although the opponent was a sword cultivator, 10% of his strength had been suppressed by the Divine Sword Seal. Bang! The sword Qi of the Sword God clone was blocked by the flames of the bloodline holder. Scram! The young man immediately turned around and slashed at the Sword God clone. The latter also quickly attacked. However, at this moment, crack! A crisp sound suddenly rang out. The Tao weapon in the young man's hand actually exploded. The broken blade was instantly blasted away, leaving many wounds on his body. This move was mastered by Yixian after fusing with the Sword God bloodline. It was called Sword's Explosion. The young man did not expect this and was injured. He did not even have time to attack. Instead, he was hit by the Sword God clone and was sent flying. Little guy, you dare to fight with me? Chapter 2038. You're courting death. The young man was enraged and immediately engaged in a fierce battle with the Sword God's clone. But it didn't take long for Blackhorn and Old Shoe to join in. Bullying with numbers? 100 Unicorn Army. The young man shouted angrily, and the sacred power in his body began to surge out. In the next moment, hundreds of unicorn appeared in the sky. A bloodline holder. As expected of a bloodline holder. Previously, Yixian could only summon 1 unicorn at most. Now this bloodline holder could summon hundreds of them. If they focused their attacks, they would probably be able to kill a Samsara Tao Lord. However, this little bit of skill was nothing in front of Yixian. Come out, my mount. Yixian muttered. As soon as he finished speaking, a golden light shot out from his body and rapidly expanded in the sky. Everyone turned their heads and saw that the golden light had turned into a golden celestial dragon. Yixian glanced at the system and saw that this was called Golden Celestial Dragon. The War God Mount skill could summon a Golden Celestial Dragon, which was very impressive. He did not expect a Golden Celestial Dragon to appear on his first summon. Whoosh! 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 As soon as the Golden Celestial Dragon appeared, it swept its tail and killed dozens of unicorn. The other unicorn quickly attacked, but surprisingly, it was useless against the Golden Celestial Dragon. Not only that, the golden celestial dragon's scales continuously shot out golden rays, killing the other unicorn. Terrifying. It was too terrifying. When the young man saw that his hundreds of unicorn were wiped out in an instant, he was scared witless. He felt that he would not be able to defeat this golden celestial dragon. Let's go. The young man made a prompt decision and turned to run. You want to run? It's too late. Yixian shook his head. His eyes flashed as he used another trump card. Divine Sword Art. A divine sword condensed in the sky and then slashed down. The sky was split open. Before the young man could react, the divine sword had already descended and cut him in half. He died just like that. The power of the divine sword's secret art was indeed extraordinary. This was a true one-hit kill. This unlucky bastard is the weakest bloodline holder I've ever met. To think that he has a 4th-level bloodline. Yixian shook his head helplessly. However, he couldn't be blamed for this. After all, the other party had a 4th-tier immortal bloodline, while he had a double demigod bloodline. However, the divine sword technique that he had just used required a large number of swords to cool down. Otherwise, he would not be able to use it again. A Dao soldier formed from a Dao seed would definitely have more experience than an ordinary Dao soldier. Thinking of this, Yixian made use of the God-tier Devouring system's forging function, and some Dao seeds as materials to create Dao weapons. Then it would devour them all. The divine sword technique had recovered to 50%. Because my level is low, the things I obtain are more precious. After using the divine sword technique, it will be easier for me to recover. Yixian was very satisfied. However, because of the bloodline fusion, his one-hit kill sword and peerless sword pair had disappeared. Therefore, he was preparing to fuse the life sword and death sword together. Ding! The host has obtained the life and death sword. The system notified. This life and death sword had reached the level of a life and death Dao soldier. It was very suitable for Yixian to use now. However, the life sword and death sword originally belonged to the Jiang family. Now that Yixian had borrowed them and reforged them, it was a little unreasonable. However, this matter was easy to solve. He just needed to give the Jiang family some benefits. The Jiang family's old patriarch, Jiang Lingguang, was only a rank 1 Dao lord. Yixian, on the other hand, was already a rank 6 Dao lord. He had even killed a Samsara Dao lord level devourer. Just casually taking something would make the Jiang family overjoyed. Immediately, he tore open the void and returned. Then he left immediately. Now that he had settled everything, he had a new goal. That was to awaken a new sword servant. Based on the current situation, it seems that the materials for the violet gold sword servant are easier to obtain. Yixian thought to himself. The undying sword servant had the ability to not die and was very sharp. As for the violet gold sword servant, it was a type of sword servant with extremely strong defense. It could allow Yixian to comprehend the violet gold godly armor skill. The violet gold godly armor had extremely strong defense. Together with the void spirit godly armor that was immune to all energy attacks, it could be said to be almost invincible. The reason why Yixian chose to awaken the violet gold sword servant first was because there was a violet gold stone in the memories of the person with the 4th bloodline. It was the material needed to awaken the violet gold sword servant. However, there was only one violet gold stone. Awakening the violet gold sword servant required a large amount of violet gold stone. The person with the 4th bloodline is called Dai Hao. There is a violet gold stone mine in the Dai clan's property. Yixian thought to himself. He threw Dai Hao's corpse to the mask of authenticity, and then disguised himself as Dai Hao. He immediately rushed to the Dai clan. The mask of authenticity was a good magic treasure. As long as Yixian did not make a move himself, no one would be able to tell that he was an imposter. Therefore, he successfully infiltrated the Dai clan. This Dai Hao is actually the young master of the Dai clan. His status is not low. He should be able to enter the violet gold stone mine. Yixian thought to himself as he rushed to the violet gold stone mine. Along the way, the clansmen greeted Yixian. Yixian did not bother to pay attention to them. He did not want to expose himself. After a while, he arrived at the entrance of the violet gold stone mine behind the Dai clan. This violet gold stone mine has just been opened. There are still many violet gold spiders inside that need to be cleaned up. Yixian thought to himself as he stepped in. These violet gold spiders were almost all high-level Dao Lords. Only a few had reached the Samsara Dao Lord level. Given Yixian's current strength, there was no need for him to fear them. This place was very suitable for training. So many Dai Clan clansmen had formed teams to enter. Yixian avoided these Dai Clan clansmen and began his training. No one knew how many pieces of purple gold ore there were in the purple gold ore vein. The piece of purple gold ore in Dai Hao's interspatial ring was something he had obtained while wandering around. In order to increase efficiency, Yixian had sent his sword god clones out together. However, after half a day, they had only obtained 10 violet gold stones. Only 10 violet gold stones after half a day? I need 10,000 violet gold stones to activate the violet gold sword servant. Wouldn't that take me more than a year? Yixian's eyes darkened. If he had to spend a year to create a violet gold sword servant, he might as well just kill him. One had to know that time was very precious to him. A year was enough for him to break through several times. Even becoming an emperor would not be a problem. Thus he decided to use another method. Although it was a little inappropriate, in this world where the strong were respected, it was not surprising. Chapter 2039. The Dai clan was not a small clan. Thousands of people had entered the purple gold mine alone. Yixian had encountered quite a few groups before, so he decided to snatch their Dao seeds. These people did not deserve to die, so his idea was to forcibly absorb them into the devouring space and then use the system to forcibly strip them of their Dao seeds. This way, he could obtain both the purple gold ores and the Dao seeds. It was killing two birds with one stone. In the next few days, Yixian frantically searched for the Dai clan members. 3 days later, he had gathered 2,000 purple gold ores. However, there was still a long way to go before he could activate the purple gold sword servant. However, at this moment, clang, 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 a series of crisp sounds entered Yixian's ears. He raised his eyebrows in puzzlement. This sound was not the sound of humans fighting against the purple gold spiders. It was the sound of weapons clashing. Yixian hurried over to take a look and found that there were indeed two groups of people fighting. One side was the Dai clan members and the other side, Yixian did not know who they were. However, the other side's combat strength was clearly stronger than the Dai clan members. Young clan leader, they are from the Tan clan. Suddenly, someone glanced at Yixian and hurriedly shouted, "The Tan clan." Yixian narrowed his eyes and quickly searched his memories. He found that the Tan clan was several times stronger than the Dai clan. Why would they suddenly kill their way into the purple gold mine? Strange. No matter what, Yixian still had to act. After all, he was the young clan leader now. The Tan clan members were not bad, but if they were not at the Samsara Dao Lord level, they were still very weak in front of Yixian. Very quickly, these people were all taken care of by Yixian, including the people from the Dai family. Then, Yixian performed a soul search on them and found that the Tan clan members were only here to seize the purple gold mine on the orders of their elders. Yixian found it strange because the Dai clan and the Tan clan had not interfered with each other before. It was strange that they suddenly came to seize the purple gold mine. After all, even if the entire purple gold mine was given to the Tan family, the Tan family might not be interested in it. However, right at this moment, I heard that you were in the purple gold mine? Suddenly, the communication token lit up. The other communication token was with the head of the Dai family, who was also Dai Hao's father. "I'm in the purple gold mine. What's wrong?" Yixian replied, pretending to be Dai Hao. "Come out quickly. That Tan family wants to occupy the purple gold mine. I'll send someone to receive you." The Dai family patriarch said. "What's going on?" Yixian asked in confusion. Because he was his son, the Dai family patriarch did not hide anything and directly said, "In the depths of the purple gold mine, a piece of purple gold ore was suddenly discovered. I don't know who leaked the news and passed the news to the Tan family." Top-grade purple gold ore? Hearing this, Yixian seemed to understand. A piece of purple gold ore was much more valuable than ordinary purple gold ore again. Most importantly, a piece of purple gold ore would contain a drop of purple gold liquid, which was a material used to forge pseudo-thearch artifacts. The Tan family had most likely come for this. Is this piece of purple gold ore still in the depths of the purple gold mine? Yixian narrowed his eyes. That's right. When we first discovered it, for some reason we were unable to mine it, so we set up a formation. Now that the news has been leaked, we don't want to worry too much about it. Let's just hand over the purple gold mine to the Tan family, lest we get killed," the Dai family patriarch said. "But even if we hand over the purple gold mine, will the Tan family give up so easily?" Yixian asked curiously. Top-grade violet gold ore was extremely rare, and even high-level samsara downlords would be tempted by it. For this violet gold mine to actually produce a single piece of such ore was already an incredible stroke of luck. It was very likely that the Tan family would seal the news and even exterminate the Dai family. No matter what, we can't resist. Otherwise, the consequences. Before the patriarch of the Dai clan could finish his sentence, a clear voice rang out, followed by a plop sound. This sound was transmitted to Yixian through the transmission token, causing his expression to darken. The Dai family patriarch, who was a samsara Dao lord, had most likely been killed. The Tan family was really going all out. They were really ruthless in their attacks. However, if it were any other family, they would probably do the same. If a more powerful family than the Tan family found out that they had the purple gold liquid, they would also be killed. However, what did this have to do with Yixian? Is the purple gold or in the depths? The corners of Yixian's mouth curled up slightly. He was already interested in this piece of purple gold ore again. After all, if he could obtain this piece of purple gold ore, it would be enough to activate the purple gold sword servant. He wouldn't need to spend any more time collecting purple gold oregon immediately. He ordered the 3 sword god clones to gather in the depths. Along the way, he saw many people from the Dai family and the Tan family. Without exception, all of them were dealt with by him. It had to be said that the Tan family was indeed very strong. They were a level higher than the Dai family, and had high-level Dao lords everywhere. However, they were all very weak to Yixian. Soon Yixian arrived in the depths of the purple gold mine. At this moment, loud sounds came from inside. It should be the Tan family breaking the formation. Their auras aren't weak. I'm afraid there are some samsara Dao lords. Yixian narrowed his eyes and then ordered the sword god clones to move out. Who's there? Boom! 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 Soon, the sounds of battle came from inside. The invincible sword god clones fought with a group of Tan family experts. One against many, he wasn't afraid at all. However, what surprised him was that the Tan family wasn't breaking the formation just now. Instead, they were attacking a samsara Dao lord from the Dai family. This samsara Dao lord from the Dai family was in charge of guarding this supreme-grade purple gold mine. When the Tan family attacked, he was blocked here, so they fought. I heard that this supreme-grade purple gold mine is quite difficult to collect. If you're not careful, it will shatter, and then the drop of purple gold liquid will dissipate into the world. Yixian thought to himself. If such a treasure disappeared, no matter who it was, they would cry to death. Therefore, the Dai family didn't collect it and had been thinking of a way. However, he decided to observe the situation first. After all, the people inside were samsara Dao lords. It would be much more convenient to let them fight first, and then he would make a move after they were done. Rumble. The battle inside was very intense. Yixian waited outside. After a while, the battle finally came to an end. Immediately, Yixian wore the Void Spirit Divine armor and entered. Who's there? A loud roar came. Yixian, who wore the Void Spirit Divine armor and was invisible, was discovered. Since that was the case, then kill. Chapter 2040. In just an instant, all of the Tan clan members were killed, with the exception of the samsara Dao lord. Yixian was now a rank 7 Dao lord, and he was no longer afraid of facing a samsara Dao lord. However, he was afraid that his opponent would destroy the supreme-grade violet gold ore. After all, he was no longer able to use temporal reversal. Once the ore was destroyed, the drop of violet gold liquid within it would dissipate into the world. That would be too wasteful. Die! The Tan clan expert immediately charged towards the sword god clone and the others. On the other side, Yixian, who was wearing the Void Spirit godly armor, stealthily snuck into the formation and carefully inspected it. Unfortunately, he did not find the supreme-grade violet gold ore, nor did he find it in the other corpses' interspatial rings. It seemed that the samsara Dao lord had taken it away. Since that was the case, it was easy to deal with. He attacked directly. Instantly, the Samsara Downlord was attacked from all directions and was heavily injured. Go! The Tan Clan Samsara Downlord's expression changed drastically. He quickly turned around and charged out of the formation. You want to leave? Not so easy. Yi Xian's eyes widened. Together with the Sword God clone, he executed the assassin's eye and flashed behind the enemy. However, at this critical moment, a figure suddenly shot out and inserted itself between the two. Boom! A wave of energy swept out, and Yi Xian and the Sword God clone's attacks were both blocked. Who? Yi Xian hurriedly took a look. The newcomer was very unfamiliar. It seemed to be someone from the Tan clan. However, this newcomer had most likely reached the level of a rank 2 Samsara Downlord. You go. I'll stop him. The newcomer shouted and attacked Yi Xian. Aren't you just a rank 2 Samsara Downlord? Do you think I'm afraid of you? Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and directly used a trump card. The War God mount. Each time he used the War God mount, what he summoned was different. Last time, Yi Xian had summoned a divine golden dragon. This time, however, he summoned a divine golden saber-toothed tiger. The dazzling golden light instantly illuminated the entire violet gold mine, covering the violet gold light. A sacred aura spread out, shocking the rank 2 Samsara Downlord into quickly retreating. Swish! The golden saber-toothed tiger transformed into a streak of golden light that shot straight towards the second-rank Samsara Downlord. Scram! The man shouted angrily. He raised his hand and struck the golden saber-toothed tiger, but it did not cause any damage to the golden saber-toothed tiger. Poochie! With a crunching sound, the golden saber-toothed Downlord's shoulder was bitten off by the golden saber-toothed Downlord, causing blood to spurt out everywhere. Yi Xian and the Sword Immortal Avatar quickly followed up as they launched a pincer attack. A short while later, the second-rank Samsara Downlord's head was pierced through by the golden saber-toothed tiger's fangs and he perished. Next, Yi Xian quickly collected the corpse, then ordered the golden saber-toothed tiger to chase after the fleeing Samsara Downlord. After a while, the golden saber-toothed tiger dragged the corpse back. Unfortunately, to Yi Xian's disappointment, there was no supreme-grade purple gold or in their interspatial rings. Strange! Yi Xian frowned. He hurriedly performed a soul search on everyone. Afterwards, he found out that the supreme-grade purple gold, or had already shattered during the battle between the Dai clan and the Tan clan. When the Samsara Downlord of the Dai clan who was guarding the supreme-grade violet gold stone found out that the clan leader had perished, he chose to destroy the stone as well as himself. He destroyed the stone, and the drop of violet gold liquid disappeared from the world as well. The supreme-grade purple gold ore was an excellent material for forging pseudo-emperor artifacts. It was priceless. Although Yi Xian felt that it was a pity, it was not something he needed. He hurriedly returned and found the shattered supreme-grade purple gold ore again. This was what he needed. During the battle just now, he had not noticed that he had confused the supreme-grade purple gold ore with the ordinary purple gold ore again. Now he had finally obtained it. Ding! Host has activated the purple gold swordsman. A system notification rang out. After devouring the supreme-grade purple gold ore fragment, Yi Xian finally activated the purple gold swordsman. He immediately summoned the purple gold swordsman. The purple gold swordsman was dressed in purple battle armor and wielded a large sword. It looked extremely mighty. After activating the purple gold swordsman, Yi Xian also learned a new skill called the purple gold godly armor. The purple gold godly armor had extremely strong defensive abilities. When paired with the void spirit godly armor that was immune to energy attacks, even mid-level Samsara Downlords might not be able to pose a threat to Yi Xian. The purple gold swordsman will produce a supreme-grade purple gold ore every once in a while. Will the quality of the supreme-grade purple gold ore increase with my cultivation level? Yi Xian's eyes lit up as he hurriedly sent the purple gold swordsman into the devouring space. Based on the current rate of the devouring space, it would produce a supreme-grade purple gold ore every 10 days. It was very good. However, this supreme-grade purple gold ore was different from the supreme-grade purple gold ore that was naturally formed. It did not contain the purple gold ore that was used to forge pseudo-emperor artifacts. Even so, Yi Xian was overjoyed. TSK. When the time comes, I'll be able to use this supreme-grade purple gold ore to deceive everyone. I'll definitely be able to make a huge profit. Yixian was overjoyed. However, there was still one more thing that he had to do. Although the Dai clan had nothing to do with him, it was because of them that he had activated the purple gold swordsman. The Dai clan had most likely been destroyed by the Tan clan by now. He had to avenge them. That rank 2 Samsara Downlord from earlier was actually the one who had killed the Dai clan head. Now that he was dead, there was nothing to fear from the others. Soon this supreme grade purple gold ore was cleaned up by Yixian and the others. The Dai clan's members were all taken in by Yixian. As for the Tan clan's members, they were all killed by Yixian. By the time Yixian left the supreme grade purple gold ore and arrived at the Dai clan's residence, he discovered that the Tan clan's experts had already retreated. Did they hear about the supreme grade purple gold ore shattering? Or did they hear about the rank 2 Samsara Downlord dying in the supreme grade purple gold ore? Yixian narrowed his eyes. However, this was no longer important. He would take advantage of this opportunity to destroy the Tan clan. But before that, he had to deal with the Dai clan first. After I devoured that rank 2 Samsara Downlord's Dao seed, I broke through to become a rank 8 Samsara Downlord. Even my divine sword art has been restored. I don't need to do anything to destroy the Tan clan. Yixian thought to himself as he sent his sword god clone to take action. 3 days later, the sword god clone arrived at the Tan clan's residence and summoned the purple gold swordsman, Black Horn and the old tree. Instantly, a storm of blood broke out in the Tan clan's residence. The 2 remaining rank 2 Samsara Downlords were completely unable to stop it and both died tragically. In the end, the Tan clan was also sucked into Yixian's devouring space. This time, however, Yixian's true body did not take action. Without using any of my trump cards, the purple gold swordsman is actually slightly stronger than the sword god clone. Yixian thought to himself. However, the purple gold swordsman was merely a golem, while the sword god clone was far stronger. Chapter 2041. After this incident, Yixian had obtained a large number of Dao seeds. Currently, his devouring Dao seed had reached mid-mastery and was not far from late mastery. Once he reached late mastery, he would be able to break through to become a 9th rank Dao Lord. At that time, he would only need to gather a late mastery Dao seed to become a Samsara Dao Lord. As for the Samsara Dao seed, it was only at early mastery. Thus, Yixian was preparing to purchase some life-type and death-type treasures to force his way to the Saint Dao level. This required a certain amount of wealth. After all, Yixian needed more experience to level up than others. He would definitely need to spend a lot. However, now that Yixian had the violet gold swordsman, he had the capital to do so. Yixian immediately headed to a large city. In a few days, the violet gold swordsman would be able to produce a supreme grade violet gold ore. When that time came, it would definitely cause a huge uproar. After 10 days of traveling, Yixian finally arrived at a large city. At this time, there was already a supreme grade violet gold ore in his devouring dimension. This supreme grade violet gold ore was even better than the one in the violet gold ore vein. The only difference was that the one in the violet gold ore vein was naturally produced and contained a drop of violet gold liquid. However, the supreme grade violet gold ore produced by the violet gold swordsman was completely empty. However, this supreme grade violet gold ore was not something that ordinary people could break open. Yixian estimated that no one would be able to see through this supreme grade violet gold ore produced by the violet gold swordsman. After all, no one had heard of any other supreme grade violet gold ore other than the ore vein. Immediately, Yixian had the sword god's avatar take action and entrust it to the auction house. When this news spread, the entire city was in an uproar. All the great clans were pooling their money and preparing to fight for this supreme grade violet gold ore. First of all, supreme grade violet gold ore would contain a drop of violet gold liquid. Just the fact that a supreme grade violet gold ore was already tempting enough. It could allow one to comprehend the Tao of violet gold of the 5 elements. The Tao of violet gold was of a higher level than the Tao of pure gold. It was the Tao with the strongest defense among the 9 sacred Taos. As for the violet gold liquid, it was a material for forging pseudo-thearch artifacts. As long as one could obtain it, they would definitely be able to earn 10 or even 20 times the original price. The auction house had spent a lot of money to advertise for this supreme grade violet gold ore. A few days later, A huge auction was held in the city. After some people heard about this, even if they didn't buy anything, they still prepared to go in and take a look. This was because they knew that this time there would definitely be a big force bidding, so they just treated it as spending money to watch a good show. At this moment, the sword god Avatar was already watching from a private room. Soon the auction began, but this time it was different from the previous ones. This time there was only one item up for auction, and that was the purple gold stone of the highest quality. Of S2. I heard that the Tao of violet gold is extremely powerful. If one can successfully comprehend it, they'll be able to block the attacks of experts 1 or 2 levels higher. That violet gold liquid is even better. It's a material for forging pseudo-thearch artifacts. You can only come across it by chance. The auction house was in an uproar. The various great clans all had their eyes on the supreme grade violet gold ore and began to bid. The price began to skyrocket. In the blink of an eye, it had reached a level that no one would have expected. That was enough to create a mid-level Samsara Tao Lord. However, the violet gold liquid was something that even high-level Samsara Tao Lords coveted. A single drop could be used to forge pseudo-thearch artifacts. Once someone obtained a pseudo-thearch artifact, they would be virtually invincible among those of the same level. No one would be able to withstand a single blow from them. The sword god's clone sat in the private room, listening to the continuous bidding around him. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. I'm rich. I'm going to make a killing this time. Yixian's true body was overjoyed. This was already enough for him to break through to become a Samsara Tao Lord. But that wasn't the main point. The main point was that the violet gold sword servants would be able to produce a supreme grade violet gold ore every 10 days. This way, he would be able to put on a good show once more. At this moment, the various great clans suddenly slowed down. This was because they were about to run out of funds. Now it was time to see who would win. These clans and powers began to work together in private. Both sides would pool their funds and obtain the supreme grade violet gold ore before splitting it. This process lasted for several minutes. In the end, the supreme grade violet gold ore fell into the hands of the 5 allied powers. The final bid was made using all of their assets. After deducting the auction fee, all of this fell into Yixian's pocket. Awesome! Not long after, the auctioneer handed over the proceeds to Yixian. The auction finally came to an end. However, Yixian didn't leave just like that. Instead, he stayed in the auction house and began to collect as much as he could. All of the Tao seeds in the auction house were purchased by Yixian. Not only that, but he also purchased a large number of natural treasures that could improve his Samsara Tao seed. Ding! Host has broken through. Host is now a 9th grade Tao Lord. Ding! His Tao of Devour has been upgraded to the early stage Saint Tao. Ding! His Tao of Life and Death has been upgraded to the early stage Saint Tao. Ding! Host has broken through. Host is now a 1st grade Samsara Tao Lord. 2 system notifications rang out. Yixian had broken through in succession. His Tao of Devour and Tao of Life and Death had been upgraded to the Saint Tao level by Yixian. Apart from that, Yixian had also upgraded his Tao of Raging Inferno and Tao of Gale. Thus, Yixian was currently comprehending several Saint Taos, which had greatly increased his strength. If he had only upgraded 2 of his Taos to the Saint Tao level, he might have been able to break through and become a 2nd grade Samsara Tao Lord. However, if he upgraded several Taos at the same time, then even a 1st grade Samsara Tao Lord would be stronger than a 2nd grade Samsara Tao Lord. After the matter was settled, Yixian left the auction house. As expected, after he left, he discovered that someone was following him. Those who had participated in the auction earlier weren't small powers. Although they couldn't obtain that supreme grade violet gold ore, they could easily find out who had put it up for auction. After all, Yixian had just obtained a large amount of natural treasures. He couldn't keep a low profile even if he wanted to. Moreover, there were also people from the auction house among the people who had been following Yixian. Come, let me wipe you all out. Yixian's eyes flashed. He ordered his sword god clone to leave the city immediately. As for those who had been following him, they also left the city without exception. These people didn't hold back. After exchanging glances, they actually began to discuss who would get the yin and yang ring. The sword god clone looked at these people and smirked. Everyone, if you don't make a move, I'm leaving. Hearing this, these people found it strange. Yixian was only one person. Even the person with the lowest cultivation level among them was higher than Yixian. Why was Yixian so calm? Kid, hand over the yin and yang ring obediently, and I can let you live. An old man said slowly. Chapter 2042. If you turn around and leave now, I can spare your lives. Yixian mimicked the tone of the other party. You've got guts. The old man didn't say anything else. But right at this moment, someone couldn't hold it in any longer and charged at Yixian. Bastard! The others cursed and charged at Yixian as well. An ordinary person would have wet their pants in the face of such a force. One had to know that these nearly 100 people were all Samsara Downlords, and the strongest was a rank 4 Samsara Downlord. Yixian was a mere rank 1 Samsara Downlord. It was already good enough that he could stand firm. The show is finally about to begin. The sword god's clone's eyes flashed. Since these people were here to rob him, there was no need to show mercy. One word, kill. In the next moment, the violet gold sword attendant, Blackhorn, and the old tree all appeared. In addition, the war god's mount appeared. The first and second times, Yixian summoned the divine golden dragon and the divine golden saber-toothed tiger respectively. He was extremely lucky, but this time, he only summoned an ordinary thunder mammoth. However, this thunder mammoth's strength was comparable to a rank 3 Samsara Downlord. Of course, the strongest was naturally the sword god's clone. With the divine sword seal, he directly lowered the strength of everyone present. Non-sword cultivators were weakened by 30%, while sword cultivators were weakened by 10%. Coupled with his invincible physique, he didn't fear anyone's attacks at all. In an instant, more than half of the people who had come to rob Yixian died. How can this be? The old man who had said that he would spare Yixian was shocked. Half of his people had died in the first wave of attacks, leaving only him and 2 others. He immediately understood that Yixian wasn't someone to be trifled with. He quickly led his people away. Where do you think you're going? Suddenly a roar fell into his ears. At some point, the sword god's clone had appeared behind him. After breaking through to become a Samsara Downlord, Yixian, who had the Samsara Downlord and the Devouring Downlord, was extremely powerful. With just one sword strike, the old man was sent flying. Furthermore, in the direction where the old man was sent flying, there was already a huge monster guarding it. Boom! The thunder mammoth stomped down, heavily injuring the old man. Then the black horn spat out a mouthful of saliva, killing him. There was no suspense in this battle anymore. Within a few seconds, the remaining people were all dealt with. No one survived. In the distance, the people in the city couldn't help but gulp as they watched the battle. As it turned out, Yixian had been pretending to be a pig to eat the tiger. No wonder he hadn't left. It turned out that he was planning to counterattack. What a joke. How could a person who could take out a piece of top-quality purple gold and not hide it be an ordinary person? What made Yixian happy was that these people were all from the powers that were participating in the auction. They had a lot of money on them. Yixian had made another huge profit. He immediately returned to the auction house, spent all of his money, and broke through to become a rank 2 Samsara Downlord. At the same time, he also took the entire city. The city lord, who was only a rank 5 Samsara Downlord, couldn't resist Yixian's breakthrough at all, and was sucked into the devouring space. Not only that, but he also took back that piece of top-quality purple gold. Let's go. The sword god clone broke through the void and returned to Yixian's side. Then he continued on his journey. In the following period of time, Yixian used this method to lure others to commit crimes. Then he would take action to suppress them. In less than a month, he broke through to become a rank 4 Samsara Downlord. At the same time, he also obtained 3 pieces of top-quality purple gold. Today he came to another big city, but this time it was much bigger than before. The city lord was a rank 9 Samsara Downlord. Just like before, he used the purple gold rock to fish, but he didn't expect that this time, he would actually fish up the city lord. At this time, the city lord was leading experts to chase after Yixian. The city lord of Jade Tripod City is a rank 9 Samsara Downlord. He broke through many years ago and is already half a step into the half-step Imperial Emperor realm. His strength is not to be underestimated. As for the others, they are nothing to be afraid of. Yixian thought to himself. Previously, he had already fought with the city lord. However, even when he gathered everyone to attack the city lord, he still couldn't gain the upper hand. Although he still had a final trump card, the divine sword art, he didn't have 100% confidence that he could slash this peak rank 9 Samsara Dowlord. Let alone 100%, he didn't even have 20% confidence. Since this didn't work, he would use other methods. Old man, you really want these 3 pieces of top-quality purple gold? The sword god avatar suddenly stopped and turned around to ask. Hand over the items and I'll spare your life. The city lord of Jade Tripod City shouted angrily from behind. Is that so? Yixian narrowed his eyes and said, It's not impossible for me to hand them over. However, you have to take my sword first. Hearing this, the city lord of Jade Tripod City was stunned and said in shock, Do you think that your sword can kill me? Whether it can or not, we'll only know after we try. I'm just asking if you dare. Yixian said. Alright, it's just a sword. Come on. The city lord of Jade Tripod City snorted. The Yixian in front of him was only a rank 5 Samsara Dowlord. As someone who was half a step into the half-step Imperial Emperor realm, how could he be afraid? However, Yixian's sword was not so easy to take. You have guts. I hope you won't be scared out of your wits. Yixian snorted coldly. He gripped the sword of life and death tightly in his hand and slashed down fiercely. This sword was just an illusion. The real attack was the divine sword that condensed above his head. The divine sword art had the effect of killing all enemies in an instant. Once it was used, even the sky would be split open. When the city lord of Jade Tripod City saw this move, his heart trembled. However, when he looked at the split open sky, he suddenly had a realization. Suddenly his aura skyrocketed. Rank 9 Samsara Dowlord? No. At this moment, he had broken through to the half-step Imperial Emperor realm. What made him break through was Yixian's move. Blessed by the heavens, half-step Imperial Emperor. The city lord of Jade Tripod City widened his eyes. He did not expect that he, who had been stuck at the rank 9 Samsara Dowlord realm for countless years, would break through to the half-step Imperial Emperor realm today. What a surprise! A Samsara Dowlord had to raise their 3 Dao seeds to late-stage Sage Dao Mastery before they could plant a Dao fruit. Countless years ago, he had already raised his 3 Dao seeds to late-stage Sage Dao Mastery, so he was only 1 step away from becoming a half-step Imperial Emperor. This time, thanks to Yixian's help, his 3 Dao seeds had fused and turned into a Dao fruit, finally becoming a half-step Imperial Emperor. Once he broke through to the half-step Imperial Emperor realm, he would have a grade 1 heavenly mandate and could temporarily borrow the power of the heavens. The city lord of Jade Tripod City waved his hand and a golden palm slapped out, instantly slapping the divine sword away. Boom! Chapter 2043. F***CK. Yixian cursed. He did not expect Yixian to go back on his words. Yixian said that he would take 1 move from him. At the same time, he also felt the change in Yixian's aura. Strong. So strong that it made his heart palpitate. This is a half-step Imperial Emperor? Yixian was shocked. Previously, he was the one who made a breakthrough in battle and defeated his enemies. But now, someone actually made a breakthrough in battle with him. This was troublesome. Originally, he still had a glimmer of hope to kill all his enemies. But with the breakthrough of the Jade Tripod City Lord, this glimmer of hope was destroyed. Kid, I don't need to take this move from you anymore. The Jade Tripod City Lord laughed. He looked calm, but Yixian's move just now could even break through the 4th heaven. Its power was probably at the half-step Imperial Emperor level. Even if he made a breakthrough, he would not dare to take that move. City Lord, you made a breakthrough? At the side, the experts of the Jade Tripod City Lord Manor were shocked. The Jade Tripod City Lord was already a peak 4th heaven expert. Now that he had made a breakthrough, there was no one who could match him. Besides, it was really easy for him to take down Yixian as a half-step Imperial Emperor. So what if I made a breakthrough? You still can't do anything to me. Yixian said coldly. Is that so? The Jade Tripod City Lord narrowed his eyes and instantly turned into a stream of light, arriving in front of Yixian. His speed was more than 10 times faster than before. Before Yixian could react, The Jade Tripod City Lord was already standing in front of him, grabbing Yixian's shoulder. Bang! An attack containing the power of destiny landed on the Sword God Avatar. However, what surprised the Jade Tripod City Lord was that the Sword God Avatar remained unscathed. How is this possible? The Jade Tripod City Lord was shocked. There was a huge gap between Samsara Dao Lords and half-step Imperial Emperors. Once one made a breakthrough, their strength would increase by leaps and bounds. They would not be threatened by Samsara Dao Lords. The power of that attack just now was at least dozens of times stronger than before. However, Yixian actually received it. What was this body made of? I told you, you can't hurt me. The Sword God's doppelganger continued. So what? I got what I wanted. The City Lord of Jade Tripod City immediately revealed a smile. He opened his right hand, revealing an interspatial ring in his palm. This interspatial ring was originally worn by the Sword God's doppelganger. Really? The Sword God Avatar laughed as well. In the next moment, the Jade Tripod City Governor's smile came to an abrupt halt. He probed and found that the interspatial ring was empty. There was not a single strand of hair in it. Where is it? The Jade Tripod City's City Lord could not help but ask. Are you looking for this? With a wave of his hand, Yixian took out 3 top-grade purple gold ores. After stabilizing himself, he put them away and said, I only wear them for fun. I don't use them to store things. What a brilliant move. No wonder you are so fearless. The City Lord of Jade Tripod City had to admit that Yixian was the most difficult person he had ever met. Previously, if you had taken my sword, I would have given you the 3 top-grade purple gold ores. However, you went back on your words. You have disappointed me. Yixian shook his head helplessly. The City Lord's face turned cold when he heard this. He said, I don't believe that I can't do anything to you as a half-step Imperial Emperor. In an instant he charged over and beat Yixian like a sandbag. Unfortunately, it was useless. After some time, the City Lord of Jade Tripod City stopped. I have broken through to half-step Imperial Emperor and can use the power of the heavens. However, I still can't hurt him. The City Lord of Jade Tripod City thought to himself, even if I consolidate my realm and become proficient in using the heavens, I'm afraid the result will be the same. Who is this guy? City Lord, are we not fighting anymore? The Sword God's doppelganger in the distance got up from the ground and said, If not, I'm leaving. Wait. The City Lord of Jade Tripod City called out to Yixian. What's wrong? The Sword God's doppelganger turned around. Since I can't hurt you, let's make a deal. The City Lord of Jade Tripod City said, I'll buy your 3 top-grade purple gold ores. Okay. The Sword God's doppelganger grinned and said, 3 top-grade purple gold ores in exchange for your interspatial rings. The City Lord of Jade Tripod City hesitated for a moment before taking the interspatial rings of the others. I'll give you 1 top-grade purple gold ore first. Yixian didn't say anything else as he threw a top-grade purple gold stone over. Seeing this, the City Lord of Jade Tripod City said in surprise, You're giving it to me just like that? Haha, you can run away but you can't run away. Do you still want your Jade Tripod City? Yixian said with a smile. The City Lord of Jade Tripod City was now a half-step Imperial Emperor. However, his Jade Tripod City only had 8th grade Samsara Dao Lord experts. If Yixian charged over, it would be a devastating blow. At that time, the City Lord Mansion would be in danger. This sentence stunned the City Lord of Jade Tripod City. He narrowed his eyes and threw the interspatial rings over. Yixian caught the interspatial rings and checked them. There were indeed many good things inside. Just enough for him to break through to become a 6th grade Samsara Dao Lord. You broke through? The City Lord of Jade Tripod City was stunned. He was able to break through on the spot because of Yixian's divine sword art. But now Yixian had broken through. What was going on? However, he did not care because even if Yixian broke through to become a 9th grade Samsara Dao Lord, he would not be a match for him. A half-step Imperial Emperor, who could use Heavenly Mandate, was not someone a Samsara Dao Lord could defeat. Where are the other 2 top-grade purple gold ores? The City Lord of Jade Tripod City asked. Here they are. Yixian took out the 2 top-grade purple gold ores and said with a smile, Originally, I wanted to give them to you. But you beat me so badly just now. So, these 2 top-grade purple gold ores are my compensation. The city lord of Jade Tripod City widened his eyes and was about to take away the top-grade purple gold ores in Yixian's hands. But in the next moment, Yixian's figure disappeared. No, to be precise, the sword god's clone had disappeared and was taken back by Yixian, who was far away in the horizon. At the same time, another sentence spread. City lord of Jade Tripod City, I will come back for this top-grade purple gold ore. Please take good care of it. The city lord of Jade Tripod City was a half-step imperial emperor. With Yixian's current level, he would not be able to fight him. Fortunately, Yixian still had 2 top-grade purple gold ores. This was enough for him. Although 3 top-grade purple gold ores were very tempting, just 1 was enough to make people commit crimes. Yixian, remember this hatred in your heart. When you are strong enough in the future, you will come back for revenge. Chapter 2044. A few days later, Yixian arrived at a 4th heaven city that was comparable to Jade Tripod City. However, after entering the city, he heard something. Have you heard? The Jade Tripod City Lord in the north has been suppressed? That can't be. That's a rank 9 Samsara Dao Lord expert. It said that he's already half a step into the half-step Imperial Emperor realm. What rank 9 Samsara Dao Lord? A few days ago, the Jade Tripod City Lord broke through to the half-step Imperial Emperor realm and announced it to the entire city. Just yesterday, an expert suddenly appeared and suppressed the Jade Tripod City Lord, taking control of the city. What? Half-step Imperial Emperor? That's right. It seems to have started because of a supreme-grade purple gold ore. After the Jade Tripod City Lord was defeated, his supreme-grade purple gold ore was taken by the other party. At the same time, the other party announced to the world that he was buying purple gold ores and supreme-grade purple gold ores in bulk. If anyone didn't and was exposed, they would be killed without mercy. Who is this person? How dare he be so arrogant? Could he be from the 5th heaven? He must be. This was the conversation that Yixian heard after entering the city. I didn't expect the Jade Tripod City Lord to be defeated. My supreme-grade purple gold ore also fell into the other party's hands. Yixian narrowed his eyes slightly, not taking this matter to heart. Using the method of fishing, he took this city that was comparable to Jade Tripod City into his pocket and left again. In the following period of time, Yixian continued to rush forward, breaking through from rank 6 Samsara Dao Lord to rank 8 Samsara Dao Lord. However, not long after he broke through to rank 8 Samsara Dao Lord, ding! The target of the death pursuit order is dead. Suddenly, a system notification sounded in Yixian's mind. What's going on? Yixian raised his eyebrows. In the battle with the Jade Tripod City Lord, he had marked everyone, but the others were all small fries, so he withdrew the death pursuit order and only marked the Jade Tripod City Lord. Now, the target of the death pursuit order was the Jade Tripod City Lord. Although the Jade Tripod City's City Lord had fought with him and Yixian had ended in defeat, Yixian still wanted to get back at him. Now the Jade Tripod City's City Lord was dead, and the supreme great purple gold ore had fallen into the hands of others. This was unacceptable. Immediately, Yixian tore through the void and returned to Jade Tripod City. At this moment in Jade Tripod City, there was a purple pillar of light that pierced through the clouds. It was very eye-catching. Yixian let the sword god avatar enter the city and immediately felt a powerful aura. It seemed that this was the expert from the 5th layer of heaven, the murderer of the Jade Tripod City's City Lord. The sword god doppelganger immediately moved out to investigate. By the time he arrived at the City Lord's estate, he saw quite a few people lined up outside. None of them had low levels of cultivation. They were all at least rank 7 Samsara Dao Lords. They were all at the purple gold rock. Strange. Why would a half-step sovereign emperor collect so many purple gold ores? Yixian was a little confused. A half-step sovereign emperor could almost forge a quasi-emperor weapon. It was one thing for him to collect supreme-grade purple gold ores, but why would he need these purple gold ores that were used to forge Samsara Dao Lords? Yixian did not care so much. He directly let the sword god doppelganger shout, "I have 5 supreme-grade purple gold ores. How much are they worth?" As soon as these words were said, everyone present stopped what they were doing and was stunned. 1 supreme-grade purple gold ore was priceless. How much would 5 supreme-grade purple gold ores be worth? Most likely, no one present would be able to calculate it. In the city lord's estate, a young man immediately opened his eyes and rushed out when he heard this. He looked in the direction of the voice and saw the sword god doppelganger. He said in shock, "You have 5 supreme-grade purple gold ores? That's right. I want to exchange all of them for Dao seeds, Samsara Dao seeds, and Inferno Dao seeds for cultivation." The sword god doppelganger nodded. To be able to comprehend the Tao of life and death, you can be considered to have some ability. Alright, these things are yours. The young man did not waste any time. He waved his hand and took out an interspatial ring. Then, he took out something from his own interspatial ring. Then, he threw the interspatial ring to Yixian. If Yixian could not take out 5 supreme-grade purple gold ores, he would probably die an unnatural death. Facing a half-step imperial emperor, no Samsara Dao Lord dared to do so. Yixian took the interspatial ring, and his eyes lit up. The things inside were enough for him to break through to the peak of the 9th stage Samsara Dao Lord. He immediately swallowed it, and a Dao fruit condensed in his body. His aura skyrocketed. Ding! Host has broken through to the 9th stage Samsara Dao Lord. If you want to continue breaking through, please plunder the heavenly fate of others. Hearing this, Yixian raised his eyebrows. Plunder? Heavenly fate? Yixian was very unfamiliar with the half-step imperial emperor realm because there were not many of them in the 4th heaven. However, there was a half-step imperial emperor in front of him. As long as he killed him, everything would be clear. The youth was a little surprised. He could not understand how Yixian could break through without batting an eyelid. However, he did not care so much. What he cared about was the 5 supreme-grade purple gold ores. As long as he had these 5 supreme-grade purple gold ores, he could go back and report on his mission. In fact, he could even get some rewards. The 5 supreme-grade purple gold ores are here. Yixian did not hesitate and threw the 5 supreme-grade purple gold ores over. Of the 5 supreme-grade purple gold ores, 2 were from before, while the other 3 were from the purple gold sword attendants. Seeing this, the youth's eyes lit up. He did not expect Yixian to really have 5 supreme-grade purple gold ores. Where did you get these 5 supreme-grade purple gold ores? The youth could not help but ask. Purple gold ores were common, but there might not even be 1 supreme-grade purple gold or in a million purple gold or veins. However, Yixian actually had 5 supreme-grade purple gold ores. It was really strange. I got them from killing someone on the way, Yixian replied. Not bad. You did well. The youth was very satisfied. At the same time, his gaze landed on Yixian's interspatial ring. Who knew there might be more inside? However, just as he was thinking about Yixian's interspatial ring, Yixian was also thinking about him. I heard that you defeated the Jade Tripod City's city lord? Yixian asked. That guy didn't do his job well, so I killed him, the youth said coldly. Yixian narrowed his eyes and said, That means that the supreme-grade purple gold ore in his hand is also in your hands? That's right. Why? The youth was slightly surprised. If it were anyone else who dared to speak to him in such a tone, they would have died long ago. However, Yixian had given him 5 supreme-grade purple gold ores, so he was in a good mood. You may not know, but that supreme-grade purple gold ore is also mine, so please return it. Yixian said slowly. Return supreme-grade purple gold ore? Hearing this, the youth was slightly stunned. He did not expect Yixian to dare ask him to return something. Chapter 2045. Ha 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 ha. The young man suddenly laughed out loud. This was the funniest joke he had ever heard in his life. Yixian dared to say this because he had already broken through to become a 9th grade Samsara Dao Lord. In addition, he had the sword god's clone, so he was fearless. It seems that you won't hand it over. If that's the case, I'll take it myself. The sword god's clone shouted angrily. He took out his weapon and slashed at the young man. A sharp sword chi tore through the air and landed on the young man, but it was dispersed by the golden light on the young man's body. How funny. The heavenly Tao exists before the Tao. You actually used the Tao to attack me. You really don't know what you're talking about. The young man sneered. Be it half-step imperial emperors, or even eternal emperors, they all use the same method. That was the power of the heavens, also known as the mandate of heaven. The mandate of heaven could greatly increase one's lifespan. At the same time, the more mandates one had, the faster one's cultivation would be. Therefore, this realm was very cruel. If there was a disagreement, they would kill and take the mandate of heaven. I don't believe that I can't break through your defense. Yi Xian widened his eyes and attacked again. In addition, the old tree, Black Horn, and the violet gold swordsman all appeared. How dare you attack me like an ant? You're courting death. The young man was enraged. With a raise of his hand, he killed Black Horn and the others. Not only that, but even the violet gold swordsmen were defeated. Fortunately, the sword god's clone was invincible, so he was not injured at all. I don't believe that I can't exhaust you to death. Yi Xian widened his eyes and summoned the old tree and Black Horn again. As for the violet gold swordsmen, they could not be summoned again today because they were dead. This battle was fought without warning, causing the crowd below to be at a loss as to what to do. Fortunately, both sides were fighting in the air. Otherwise, the entire Jade Tripod City would have been destroyed. The sword god's clone kept summoning the old tree and Black Horn to attack, which surprised the young man. Seeing that his side had no advantage at all, Yi Xian's main body, who was far away in the sky, made a decision of it. At that moment, he broke through the void and descended personally. The moment he appeared, the divine sword seal was activated by him. The young man was not a sword cultivator. After being affected by the divine sword seal, his combat power dropped by 30%. However, this level of power was still not something that Samsara Downlords could compare to. Fortunately, the Void Spirit Divine Armor on Yi Xian's body could withstand attacks from the heavens. Who would have thought that Wei Zhentian's magic treasure form has already surpassed the heavens? Yi Xian was pleasantly surprised. However, it would not be so easy to kill this young man. Looks like I have to pay a price. Come, War God Tyrant Body. Yi Xian's eyes flashed, and the saint energy in his body suddenly went berserk, and then quickly bombarded his own body. The War God Tyrant Body of the War God had two effects. One was rapid recovery, and the other was that the more severe one's injuries were, the stronger one would be. Back then, when he was fighting with the Jade Tripod City's City Lord, he had actually used it before. However, he was still no match for him. However, his injuries that day were only about half healed. Today, he was going to put himself in a state of near death. That way, he would be able to unleash extremely powerful combat power. In an instant, Yi Xian's combat power skyrocketed, far surpassing the sword god's clone. Whoosh! 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 Streaks of sword light flashed, and Yi Xian began to attack wildly. Although he had suppressed the recovery effect of his bloodline, he had only suppressed the recovery effect. His saint energy could still continuously recover. On the other hand, the young man's saint energy was constantly decreasing. Heavenly mandate attacks were powerful, but like the Tao, they required the support of saint energy. Once saint energy was depleted, he would not be much stronger than a Samsara Tao Lord. This time Yi Xian chose to use a method of attrition. With the ethereal armor, his opponent could not hurt him. Rumble! A series of loud sounds rang out in the sky above Jade Tripod City. Afraid of being affected, the people in the city below had already retreated from the city, far away from this troublesome place. Kid, what kind of armor is that? It can actually block heavenly mandate attacks? The young man could not help but ask. Beat me and you'll know. Yi Xian's lips curled up slightly. What about them? The young man's gaze fell on the three sword god's clones. The sword god's clone, the old tree and Black Horn. One was invincible, while the other two could revive infinitely. He could not kill them even if he beat them. This made the young man somewhat tired. It's the same. Beat me and I'll tell you. Yi Xian snorted. When the young man heard this, his expression darkened. If that's the case, then take one of my attacks. As soon as he finished speaking, a terrifying aura suddenly spread out. The young man gathered all of his heavenly mandate into his right fist, then suddenly leaped into the air and smashed down. A golden fist smashed towards Yi Xian. You came just in time. Die. Yi Xian's eyes widened. He flashed behind his opponent and used his trump card. Divine Sword Art. A divine sword materialized and fell instantly. In the previous battle, Yi Xian had not used his eye of assassination. He had been waiting for this moment. Their attacks were completely ineffective against the young man. Every attack that landed on the young man was blocked by his heavenly mandate. However, this time Yi Xian's attack was not ordinary. It was an insta-kill technique, divine sword art. What? The young man's eyes widened in disbelief. This divine sword art was clearly stronger than his full-power attack. How was this possible? Was this an attack that a 9th stage Samsara Dao Lord could produce? Impossible. Before the young man could react, he was struck by the divine sword and was instantly cut in half. He died on the spot. The divine sword art had the effect of insta-killing. However, even if it did not, its power was enough to deal with the young man. Of course, if Yi Xian had not been heavily injured and increased his strength, this attack would not have hit the young man. This was because every time Yi Xian used the divine sword art, he had to use his own sword to hack. The divine sword's hacking speed was the same as his. Since the immortal slaying bloodline was gone, Yi Xian's mind no longer rang with the notification that he had gained killing intent. He immediately put away the young man's corpse. The 5 supreme-grade purple gold ores, as well as the one in the hands of the Jade Tripod City Lord, all fell into Yi Xian's hands. In addition, there was a large amount of natural treasures in the young man's yin and yang ring. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly noticed a golden ball of light in the air. He quickly searched the young man's memories and found that this golden ball of light was the so-called heavenly mandate. Heavenly mandate could be understood as luck. The stronger one's heavenly mandate was, the more favor they would receive from the heavens. The higher one's heavenly mandate was, the faster one's cultivation speed would be. The longer one's lifespan, the higher the chances of encountering fortuitous encounters. In short, there were many benefits. Chapter 2046. There were a total of 99 ranks in the heavenly fate realm. Every 33 ranks represented a great realm. From the 1st grade to the 33rd rank heavenly fate realm, they were all half-step imperial emperors. From the 34th to the 66th rank heavenly fate realm, they were true imperial emperors. If one had the 67th rank heavenly fate realm, they would enter the eternal emperor realm. Yi Xian quickly devoured the ball of heavenly fate realm. In the next moment he heard a system notification sound. Ding! The host has devoured the 3rd grade heavenly fate realm, breaking through to the 1st grade half-step imperial emperor realm. He had indeed broken through to the next realm. Now, Yi Xian was also someone who was blessed by the heavens. However, the golden ball of light in Yi Xian's body was smaller than the youth's. After all, he had seized the heavenly fate realm of others and couldn't completely refine it. In other words, even if Yi Xian obtained the 99th rank heavenly fate realm, he wouldn't be able to break through to the 9th grade eternal emperor realm. However, he knew that he would definitely be able to reach that realm. Just now, he had searched the youth's memories. At this moment, he already knew why the youth wanted to buy a large amount of purple gold stones and supreme-grade purple gold stones. This youth came from a force called the Crimson Sun sect in the 5th layer of heaven. They had previously discovered a ruin, but that ruin was full of danger. It was filled with purple gold beasts. Only those who wore purple gold armor would not be attacked by the beasts. It was said that this ruin was left behind by a suspected Imperial Emperor realm expert. There was probably an inheritance that would make people jealous. Those who wear purple gold armor will be mistaken as one of their kind by the beasts, but there is also a possibility of being exposed. Purple gold armor is divided into ordinary purple gold armor and supreme grade purple gold armor. The supreme grade purple gold armor is not easy to be discovered. Yi Xian thought in his heart. He didn't know if he would be attacked if he entered that ruin. He had already activated the purple gold sword servant and had a set of purple gold divine armor. This set of purple gold divine armor was definitely stronger than the supreme grade purple gold armor. He didn't know if he would be exposed if he wore this set of purple gold divine armor. However, Yi Xian liked this kind of ruin because he had the sword god clone. Once he obtained the inheritance, his strength would increase by leaps and bounds. This purple gold ruin was the cave residence of a suspected Imperial Emperor realm expert. There were definitely a lot of good things in it. Who knows, there might even be an enormous heaven's will. As long as he obtained the mandate of heaven, Yi Xian's strength would soar once again. Although it was impossible for him to directly break through to Sovereign Emperor, it should not be a problem for him to become a high-ranked half-step Sovereign Emperor. Now that I've become a half-step Sovereign Emperor, I have the strength to break through to the 4th heaven. I can directly go to the 5th heaven. With that in mind, Yi Xian used his heavenly mandate power to break through the 4th layer of heaven. Then he entered it and flew towards the 5th layer of heaven. Of the 9 heavens, each was heavier than the last. The first was the smallest while the 9th was the largest. Yi Xian went from the 4th heaven to the 5th heaven, which happened to be the territory of the Crimson Sun sect. I've heard that the 5th layer of heaven is much crueler than the 4th layer of heaven. Even if there is no conflict of interest, there is still the possibility of swords and knives being used against one another. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. After all, half-step sovereign emperors could steal the mandate of heaven from others to increase their strength. If they had the chance, they would definitely take action. Now that Yi Xian had broken through to the half-step sovereign emperor realm, he would need a lot of mandate of heaven to break through. However, he did not plan to enter the Crimson Sun sect. Instead, he flew in a certain direction. That was where the purple gold ruin was located. Along the way, Yi Xian encountered many people, all of whom were first-grade half-step sovereign emperors. When they saw that Yi Xian was alone, they wanted to kill him and steal his mandate of heaven. Unexpectedly, they were all killed by Yi Xian. The higher the realm, the harder it is to break through. After breaking through to the half-step sovereign emperor realm, I have already killed dozens of people, but I still haven't broken through. Yi Xian shook his head helplessly. Then he flew towards the purple light in the sky. He had arrived at the purple gold ruin. The purple gold ruin had been open for many years. Other than the Crimson Sun sect, there were many people collecting purple gold ores. Those who entered the purple gold ruin were all wearing purple gold armor or supreme grade purple gold armor. However, there were very few who could come out alive. Yi Xian arrived in front of the huge purple gold palace and looked around. This purple gold palace was not big. There were 2 lion-like purple gold beasts guarding the entrance. From afar, one could see a staircase that led underground. I won't enter with my main body first. Let the sword god clone enter. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and let the sword god clone enter. However, just as the sword god clone approached, he was attacked by the 2 purple gold beasts. Rumble! Immediately, the 2 purple gold beasts ganged up on the sword god clone. The latter was beaten until he pissed his pants. He could not fight back at all. Yi Xian estimated that the strength of these 2 purple gold beasts should be at the mid-level half-step sovereign emperor realm. It was said that only those who wore purple gold armor and supreme grade purple gold armor would not be attacked by the purple gold beasts. Of course, these 2 types of armor were just to confuse the enemy. It was harder to recognize supreme grade purple gold armor, but it was easier to recognize the purple gold armor. Many people who wore purple gold armor and wanted to take advantage of the situation had already died at the hands of these 2 purple gold beasts. Right now, Yi Xian only had supreme-grade purple gold ores and not supreme-grade purple gold armor, so it was impossible. However, the purple gold sword servants might be able to. Yi Xian immediately let the purple gold sword servants take action. Then he saw the purple gold sword servants swagger into the purple gold palace without being attacked by the purple gold beasts. As expected, the purple gold sword servants were judged by the purple gold beasts to be of the same kind. Unfortunately, it was the purple gold sword servants that passed through and not the sword god clone. Otherwise, Yi Xian could enter the palace through the sword god clone. However, he had a way. Purple gold divine armor appear. Yi Xian's eyes flashed, and a set of purple armor appeared under the void spirit divine armor. It covered Yi Xian's entire body like scales. He tried to go over and walk to the spot where the sword god clone had been attacked. As expected, these 2 purple gold beasts did not attack him. Very good. Yi Xian nodded in satisfaction, then entered the purple gold ruins. As long as he entered, the sword god clone would be able to follow him immediately. At that time they would switch places, and it would be the sword god clone entering the purple gold ruins. If there was a checkpoint that he could not pass, Yi Xian would personally take action. Just like that, Yi Xian entered the purple gold ruins. After walking down the long flight of stairs, Yi Xian arrived at the purple gold underground palace. Looking around, there were large doors that were wide open in all directions. He did not know where they led to. Yi Xian did not want to stay in such a high-class place for too long, So he broke through the void and left, leaving behind the sword god clone and the purple gold sword servants. Chapter 2047. Next, the sword god clone released the old tree and black horn, and they entered the 4 tunnels. However, before long, Yixian heard 2 system notifications in his mind. Ding! Flame-swallowing unicorn is dead. Ding! Black scale dragon is dead. Immediately after that, there was a notification that the 2 of them had revived. Through the shared vision, Yixian could see that the one who killed the old tree and black horn was a purple figure. It must be some kind of purple gold beast. Not only that, but the sword god clone also encountered it. Boom! 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 Loud sounds came from the tunnel where the sword god clone was. These were the sounds of the sword god clone being beaten up. However, the invincible sword god clone relied on his invincible Vajra body to use the purple gold beast to hurry up. Such a method of travel was unheard of. After a while, the sword god's avatar that was sent flying saw a human corpse behind him. He immediately used the Devour skill to absorb the corpse. This human corpse was wearing ordinary purple gold armor. Although he had fooled the guards, he was killed by the patrolling purple gold beasts. The sword god clone kept the corpse, and Yixian quickly searched his soul to see if there was anything related to the purple gold ruins. In addition, there was a golden ball of light floating above the corpse. The sword god clone did not forcibly keep it. The deceased was just an independent cultivator, a second-grade half-step imperial emperor. He was 1 level higher than the youth Yixian had killed. However, there was nothing worth mentioning in this person's memories. After Yixian devoured his destiny, his strength increased greatly. One had to admit that destiny was a good thing. The higher one's destiny, the easier it was to be favored by the heavens. For such ruins, it was easier for people with high fate mandates to encounter fortuitous encounters. However, to Yixian, the most attractive part of the violet gold ruins were the corpses of the dead. Because there were corpses, he could practically obtain the will of the heavens. When he had been a Tao Lord, Yixian had been able to resurrect others. Back then it had been fairly easy for him to do so. Though the life and death Tao seed had turned into a Tao fruit, Yixian still had the ability to bring the dead back to life. He could use the heaven's will to revive. Of course, using heaven's will to revive would consume a large amount of heaven's will. Reviving those below the half-step sovereign emperor realm was fine, but reviving half-step sovereign emperors would require a huge price. If a half-step sovereign emperor with a first-grade fate mandate died, others could use their own fate mandate to revive him. However, the price was terrifyingly high. If a third-grade heavens mandate cultivator paid the price of a drop in cultivation, they might be able to revive him. If it was a peerless genius like Yixian with a demigod bloodline, then a rank 10 or even rank 20 heavens mandate expert would have to sacrifice themselves in order to revive. In short, the higher the talent, the higher the price of resurrection. However, if a rank 20 heavens mandate cultivator were to revive a rank 1 heavens mandate cultivator, it wouldn't be difficult at all. In fact, it would be extremely easy. Heaven's mandate was divided into 99 ranks and each rank had its own difference. A second-grade heavens mandate cultivator wasn't equivalent to 2 first-grade heavens mandate cultivators. Could be 5 or 10. A rank 20 heavens mandate cultivator was equivalent to tens of thousands of first-grade heavens mandate cultivators. Speaking of which, Yixian naturally wouldn't use his heaven's will to revive these people. To him, these corpses were all experience points. As long as he was allowed to grow, not to mention the purple gold battle beast, he might even be able to take the entire purple gold ruins into his pocket. Following that, the sword god clone continued to be beaten up. He had to use an unusual method to travel. Although the sword god clone was useful, the system gave him a flaw. He couldn't use defensive skills like the purple gold divine armor because it was useless. Furthermore, although the sword god clone could wear the void spirit divine armor, the armor's buff had no effect on him. He could only use invisibility. While the sword god clone was being beaten up, the purple gold sword servant on the other side also encountered a battle beast. However, the purple gold sword servant was different from the sword god clone. The purple gold sword servant's entire body was made of special purple gold. So the purple gold battle beast treated it as one of its kind. Hi! The purple gold sword servant directly passed by the purple gold battle beast, and even greeted it in a friendly manner. Roar! The purple gold battle beast let out a low roar, but no one knew what it was saying. In the purple gold ruins, the purple gold sword servant was much more useful than the sword god clone. They followed this path and encountered many corpses along the way. However, what made Yixian helpless was that the purple gold sword servant couldn't use the yin and yang ring, and couldn't use the void to locate him. Therefore, Yixian asked him to return and sent Wei Zhentian to follow him. This way he could collect all the corpses along the way. During this period, Yixian finally broke through from first-grade half-step Imperial Emperor to second-grade half-step Imperial Emperor after devouring so many heaven's wills. However, those who died didn't know about the purple gold ruins. However, Yixian obtained a damaged set of supreme-grade purple gold battle armor. He obtained it from the corpse of a certain person who had overestimated himself. He guessed that the person who had overestimated himself had set his sights on the purple gold battle beast, but was killed by the purple gold battle beast. In the end, Yixian benefited from it. Yixian used the supreme-grade purple gold ores produced by the purple gold sword servant to repair the damaged set of supreme-grade purple gold battle armor, and let the sword god clone wear it. This way, the sword god clone had a high chance of deceiving the purple gold battle beast. When he encountered the purple gold battle beast, he would be treated as one of its kind. However, this passage was a little too long. The sword god clone and the purple gold sword servant rushed for an entire day, but they still hadn't walked out of the passage. However, this was still acceptable. After all, this passage was built by an expert who was suspected to be at the Imperial Emperor level. An expert of that level would have a Heaven's Will of Fate of over 30. With the support of Heaven's Will, it wouldn't take long for them to pass through this passage. Finally, on the second day, the purple gold sword servant was the first to walk out of the passage. He came to a side hall, but when he walked out of the door, the dozens of doors around him instantly closed, including the one behind him. Then the ceiling suddenly opened, and a purple gold battle beast fell down. This purple gold battle beast charged towards the purple gold sword servant without saying anything. What's going on? Yixian was a little confused. The purple gold sword servant shouldn't be recognized, so why was he attacked? However, he couldn't care less and immediately ordered the purple gold sword servant to counterattack. Chapter 2048. Battle God's Mount. Yixian ordered the sword god's clone to use a skill to summon a silver giant dragon. Although a silver grade mount was not as powerful as a gold grade mount, it was still very helpful in this battle. In addition, the old tree and black horn also attacked together. Even Wei Zhentian turned into the void spirit divine armor and put it on the old tree. Rumble. A series of loud noises reverberated in the side hall. At this time, Yixian discovered that there were many corpses in the palace. It seemed that they were all killed by this purple gold battle beast. It's about the level of a 4th stage half-step Imperial Emperor. It's not too strong. Yixian narrowed his eyes slightly as he thought to himself. He guessed that this was one of the checkpoints in the purple gold ruins. They had to kill this purple gold battle beast before they could continue to move forward. Immediately, he ordered Black Horn to devour the corpses into the devouring space. There were a total of 9 corpses. They were not weak. They were at least 3rd stage half-step Imperial Emperors when they were alive. Yixian obtained their yin and yang rings and their heavenly fates before devouring them. Ding! Host has broken through. Host is now a 3rd stage half-step Imperial Emperor. When the system notification sounded, the sword god's clone and the others' auras suddenly skyrocketed. However, even if they broke through to 3rd stage half-step Imperial Emperor, the sword god's clone and the others spent a lot of time to deal with this purple gold battle beast. Crack! With a crisp sound, the purple gold battle beast was directly blasted into pieces of purple gold. Then the surrounding doors opened again. It was only a 4th stage half-step Imperial Emperor purple gold battle beast. It was not enough to stop Yixian. Yixian ordered the sword god's clone to go over and check. He found that there was a supreme-grade purple gold stone in this purple gold battle beast. Previously, on the way here, he had killed a weaker purple gold battle beast. That purple gold battle beast also had a supreme-grade purple gold stone in its body. However, the purple gold ore that Yixian had obtained was so purple that it was black. Ding! The black gold stone can be used to strengthen the violet gold sword servants. Once strengthened to a certain level, The violet gold sword servants can evolve into black gold sword servants. Do you want to upgrade it now? The system suddenly prompted. Hearing this, Yixian answered without hesitation. Yes. Next, the violet gold sword servant fused with the black gold rock, causing its strength to increase. Yixian had heard of black gold ore before. It was an ore that was of a higher grade than purple gold oregon. The black gold liquid inside could also be used to forge pseudo-thearch artifacts. At the same time, the top-quality black gold ore was one of the materials used to craft Emperor's artifacts. Although there was only a one-word difference between a quasi-emperor artifact and a quasi-emperor artifact, it was the difference between a half-step sovereign emperor and a sovereign emperor. An emperor weapon was a weapon at the imperial emperor level. From this, it could be seen how precious supreme-grade black gold ore was. No wonder this purple gold beast is so strong. It's because it has black gold stone in its body. I wonder if there are top-grade black gold stones in this violet gold ruins? Yixian thought to himself. If there were top-grade black gold stones, then the violet gold sword servant would probably be able to evolve into a black gold sword servant. This purple gold beast had already been dealt with, so Yixian had the sword god's clone and the violet gold sword servant randomly choose a few paths to enter. This violet gold ruins was a little like an ant's nest. It was connected in all directions. Although there was only one path to take each time, Yixian was sure that some paths would lead to the same place. Along the way, Yixian saw many corpses. However, this time the corpses he encountered were not weak when they were alive. They were at least third-stage half-step sovereign emperors. Presumably, these people were all experts who had passed the first trial. In this way, Yixian benefited from it. Then he continued to advance. Black Horn, the old tree, and the other weaker ones would be killed by the purple gold beasts along the way. Therefore, he could only rely on the violet gold sword servant and the sword god's clone to travel. This stay lasted for more than 10 days. In these 10 days, Yixian obtained a huge amount of fate and natural treasures that could improve his birth chart. His realm had already broken through to 6th-stage half-step sovereign emperor. During this time he passed 3 trials in succession. In other words, he defeated 3 purple gold beasts in the palace and obtained some black gold stones. Today he arrived at the 5th side hall. At this moment, there was a huge purple gold beast in front of him. Its realm had probably reached 8th stage half-step sovereign emperor. Yixian ordered the violet gold sword servant and the sword god's clone to attack together. But they could not hurt this purple gold beast. Helpless, he could only decide to use his trump card. Divine Sword Technique. A divine sword tore through the purple gold relic and slashed at the purple gold battle beast, cutting it in half. What a joke. The divine sword technique could even break through the sky, let alone this 8th stage half-step sovereign emperor. In an instant, Yixian obtained a large black gold stone from the beast's body and greatly strengthened the violet gold sword servant. However, this violet gold ruins had the ability to repair itself. The crack on the top of its head was instantly repaired. However, this did not matter. After all, Yixian did not want to leave. However, after using the divine sword technique, this skill entered a cooldown state and could not be used again. Fortunately, Yixian had a large number of quasi-emperor artifact swords on him. In an instant, 4/5 of the cooldown was restored. However, right at the moment when this rank 8 half-step Imperial Emperor level purple golden battle beast died, a figure suddenly appeared in the center of the side palace hall. Hello. When the voice entered Yixian's ears, he was a little surprised. You are? Yixian looked at the phantom youth in front of him and could not help but ask. I'm Monarch Zijin, the owner of this ruin, the young man said. Oh, so it's Senior. Yixian quickly cupped his fists. There's no need to be so polite. I have a request, Monarch Zijin said. Senior, please tell me. Monarch Zijin paused and said, to be honest, although I'm the owner of this ruin, I'm actually sealed here. So, I want you to help me escape. What? Hearing this, Yixian was stunned. He originally thought that Monarch Zijin was already dead, and that the person in front of him was just a remnant soul. This ruin was actually Monarch Zijin's tomb. However, he did not expect that Monarch Zijin was only sealed by someone else. Just as he was surprised, a system notification rang in his mind. Ding! Host has triggered a chain random mission. Help Monarch Zijin escape. Yixian's eyebrows twitched. He had not encountered a chain random mission in a long time. He immediately accepted it. How do I break the seal? Yixian asked. It's very simple. I'm sealed under the central palace of this ruin. In the central palace, there's a black gold beast at the peak of the half-step Imperial Emperor. As long as you can kill it, I can break the seal. Chapter 2049. It's that simple? Yixian raised his eyebrows. Simple. The purple gold monarch was very surprised. He said, originally, there was only one black gold battle beast at the peak of the 9th stage half-step sovereign emperor realm in the purple gold ruins. I was the one who secretly created the others. My purpose was to pick out people with potential to help me escape. It's already pretty good that you were able to kill this rank 8 half-step sovereign emperor black gold battle beast. However, you should know that the one in the central palace is 10 times stronger than this one. If you were to step into the central palace, you would be instantly killed. If that's the case, I'm afraid I can't help you. Yixian shook his head. Don't be anxious. Let me finish. Emperor Zijin shook his head and said, back then I was severely injured by a sneak attack. Then I was sealed here. That person left behind a powerful black gold battle beast to suppress me. However, I can give you the black gold stones that I condensed. You can use them to strengthen this puppet of yours. After hearing this, Yixian was a little surprised. He asked, condensed black gold stones? That's right. I'm not a human. I'm a purple gold demon. We can condense purple gold stones, supreme grade purple gold stones, black gold stones, and even supreme grade black gold stones. Unfortunately, I was heavily injured and sealed here. At most I can condense black gold stones. Emperor Zijin shook his head. He was originally an imperial emperor. After being heavily injured, he was only a 9th grade half-step imperial emperor. He couldn't even break the seal. Supreme grade black gold stones? Yixian raised his eyebrows and said, Senior, how many black gold stones do you have? Wait. After saying this, Emperor Zijin disappeared. Yixian waited for a while. Not long after, a black gold battle beast returned with a Qiankuan ring in its mouth. At the same time, Emperor Zijin's figure appeared again. I've been trapped for so many years. I can only break a small hole in the seal. This Qiankuan ring contains the black gold stones that I condensed over the years. Emperor Zijin asked the black gold battle beast to pass the Qiankuan ring to Yixian. Yixian looked at it and his eyes lit up. There were at least 10,000 black gold ores inside, which was more than enough for a purple gold sword servant to evolve into a black gold sword servant. At that moment, Yixian used all the black gold ores to strengthen the violet gold sword servants. Ding! Purple gold sword servant has evolved into black gold sword servant. As for the rest, Yixian used them all to forge pseudo-thearch weapons, and then restored the cooldown of the divine sword technique. Now Yixian had the ability to kill the black gold battle beast. Senior, please let me pass, Yixian said to Monarch Zijin. Now. Emperor Zijin was surprised to hear this. Yes. Yixian nodded and said, don't worry, Senior. The one standing in front of you right now is also a puppet. My original body is not there. Puppet? Monarch Zijin was stunned. He could feel that the sword god's doppelganger was a body of flesh and blood. How could it be a puppet? However, since Yixian said so himself, it should be true. After all, he was only an illusion now. Alright, then go ahead and try. Monarch Zijin didn't say anything else. He simply opened the biggest door. Then, the black gold sword servant and the sword god's doppelganger walked in side by side. These doors were protected by formations. If they did not pass through, they would not be able to see what was behind the doors. After the black gold sword servant and the sword god's doppelganger walked in, they saw a huge black gold giant in the middle of the palace. This black gold giant must be the black gold battle beast that suppressed Monarch Zijin. Boom! At this moment, the 100-meter-tall black gold giant suddenly moved. It had been ordered to kill anyone who stepped into the central palace. The sword god's doppelganger and the black gold sword servant did not say anything and immediately started fighting. This black gold giant was a peak 9th stage half-step imperial emperor. It was very strong. However, the sword god's doppelganger and the black gold sword servant were only 6th stage half-step imperial emperors. There was a difference of 3 realms. The difference of 3 realms made it impossible for the sword god's doppelganger and the black gold sword servant to hurt the black gold giant. I don't care anymore. Yi Xian did not care so much and directly used the divine sword technique. The purple gold historical site was opened again. Boom! The divine sword fell and cut the black golden giant into 2 halves, killing it instantly. Not to mention this rank 9 half-step Imperial Lord level black golden giant. Even if a monarch were to be struck by it, he would still die. In this way, the biggest boss of the purple gold historical site was killed by Yi Xian. Immediately, Yi Xian rushed over and took the black gold stone in the black gold giant's body along with the corpse. A supreme grade black gold stone? At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly realized that this black gold stone was actually a supreme grade black gold stone. This thing could only be condensed by an imperial emperor of the purple gold tribe. It seemed that the person who suppressed imperial emperor of the purple gold tribe had really put in a lot of effort. However, what Yi Xian could not understand was why that person did not directly kill imperial emperor of the purple gold tribe when he was already seriously injured. Instead, he suppressed him. Just as he was feeling surprised, the center of the central palace suddenly began to tremble. Something seemed to want to break out of the ground. Yi Xian understood that this must be imperial emperor of the purple gold tribe. So he immediately followed and cooperated with him. In a short while, the seal was broken, and Yi Xian finally saw Imperial Emperor of the Purple Gold Tribe. However, Imperial Emperor of the Purple Gold Tribe's situation was much worse than he had imagined. Thank you very much. Otherwise, I don't know if I can leave this damn place in my lifetime. As soon as Imperial Emperor of the Purple Gold Tribe appeared, he immediately thanked him. Previously, his heavenly fate rank had already exceeded 34, which was the Imperial Emperor rank. However, as he was sealed, his heavenly fate continued to be consumed, so his realm dropped. In addition, he continued to condense black gold stones and then used his heavenly fate rank to form the purple gold beast and black gold beast, which worsened his decline. Therefore, he was only a 6th-stage half-step Imperial Emperor now. Senior, you're too kind. Yi Xian grinned. This time, if it were not for Imperial Emperor of the Purple Gold Tribe, he would probably have to spend a lot of time to get through the Purple Gold Tribe's ruins. Moreover, his chain random mission was triggered because of Imperial Emperor of the Purple Gold Tribe. He wondered what kind of reward he would get after this chain random mission was completed. I've been sealed for many years, and I've been desperately condensing black gold stones all these years. I'm only a 7th-stage half-step Imperial Emperor. I need to find a safe place to recover my strength. Imperial Emperor of the Purple Gold Tribe said. Hearing this, Yi Xian's eyes lit up and he said, I happen to have a place here. After he finished speaking, he did not wait for Imperial Emperor of the Purple Gold Tribe's reply. He asked Blackhorn and the Old Tree to perform a double devour and directly absorb Imperial Emperor of the Purple Gold Tribe into the devouring space. Then, Wei Zhentian turned into the Beast God Bell and forcibly controlled Imperial Emperor of the Purple Gold Tribe, who was only a 6th-stage half-step Imperial Emperor. Chapter 2050. Ding! Host has completed the first round of the chain random task. At this moment, the system's notification sounded, but there was no notification for the second round. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and asked Emperor Zijin to explain the situation, such as why he was imprisoned here. I am Zijin, the young master of the Zijin family. Countless years ago, I was ambushed by my cousin Zifeng and was imprisoned here. Emperor Zijin said. Hearing this, Yi Xian asked curiously, why did Zifeng ambush you and only imprison you here? Why didn't he kill you? Zifeng wanted to be the leader of the Zijin family, and I was in his way, so he ambushed me. However, he didn't dare to kill me because once I died, the family would know. As long as he imprisoned me, the family would just think that I was traveling outside. Emperor Zijin replied. Oh, then do you think he has become the leader? Yi Xian asked again. I'm not very sure because he destroyed my Qian Kuan ring that day, so I can't take over the family. However, I think that with his methods he should have already become the leader, Zijin said. As soon as he finished speaking, the system's notification sounded in Yi Xian's mind. Ding! Host has triggered the second round of the chain random task. Escort Emperor Zijin back to the Zijin family. As expected, this task was related to Emperor Zijin, and the second round of the task had been triggered. Now Emperor Zijin was under Yi Xian's control. For convenience, he directly searched Emperor Zijin's soul. This search allowed Yi Xian to discover a secret that was buried in Emperor Zijin's heart. The ancestor of the Zijin family was a purple gold. Later on, he mutated and cultivated into a human form, and then continued to reproduce. Later on, another mutated person was born in the Zijin family. This member of the Zijin family had a black gold ore in his body. Then the leader planted the black gold ore, and then a black gold ore vein was formed. In the end, the Zijin family continued to devour the black gold to strengthen themselves, and the strength of the entire Zijin family increased rapidly. And today Monarch Zijin's body actually had such a black gold mineral seed. In other words, Yi Xian could also create a black gold ore vein. This black gold ore vein, together with the devouring space, would be very effective. At that moment, Yi Xian directly told the Purple Gold Emperor to take out the black gold mine. This didn't affect the Purple Gold Emperor in the slightest. This was also a change that happened when Emperor Zijin was trapped in the Purple Gold Relic. Yi Xian picked a piece of land in the devouring space, and then planted the black gold ore vein. Together with all kinds of treasures, the land began to turn black instantly, and emitted a faint black gold light. Black gold. The black gold vein had already been formed and was starting to spread. Although this speed was slow, one should not forget that this was within the devouring space. One day in the outside world was equivalent to nearly 18,000 years in the devouring space. The black golds of the black gold ore vein was the black gold ore vein of the purple gold ore. Moreover, the black gold ore produced here was even better than the supreme grade purple gold ore. There might even be supreme grade black gold ore here. As long as there were those special treasures, the black gold ore vein could continuously expand the ore vein, forming a never-ending ore vein. Not bad, not bad. The black gold produced in the future can be used to forge quasi-emperor weapons, restore the cooldown of the divine sword technique, and strengthen the black gold sword servants. This is killing two birds with one stone. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and thought to himself, if I can get the Zijin family's black gold ore vein, the efficiency will be greatly increased. Thinking of this, he could not wait and immediately left the Zijin underground palace. After being sealed for so many years, Emperor Zijin had already given all his wealth to Yi Xian. Now he was penniless. However, just as Yi Xian was about to head to the Zijin family, rumble! Suddenly, the ground began to shake violently as if the end of the world had arrived. What's going on? Yi Xian could not figure out what was going on. He looked over and realized that the Zijin ruins were beginning to collapse. Smoke and dust filled the air and shrouded the entire place. Rumble! Suddenly, an enormous hand stretched out from the ground and slapped down, flattening the entire violet gold historical site. At this moment, Yi Xian had already hidden far away. Following that, another hand stretched out. Then with a push of both hands, a huge head stretched out. Emperor Zijin, what is this? Yi Xian hurriedly released the purple gold emperor. When the latter came out to take a look, he was shocked. This is also a black gold battle beast, but its core is probably a supreme grade black gold ore. Emperor Zijin said in shock. A supreme grade black gold battle beast? Hearing this, Yi Xian raised an eyebrow. He did not expect such a terrifying black gold battle beast to exist under the Zijin palace. Moreover, even Emperor Zijin did not know about it. At this moment, this supreme grade black gold battle beast had already crawled out from the ground. Its huge eyes were staring in the direction of Yi Xian and Emperor Zijin. Oh no, it's a guardian battle beast made by Zifeng. Once I escape, it will come out and kill me. Emperor Zijin's expression changed drastically. Compared to the 9th grade half-step Emperor Black Gold Giant in front of him, it paled in comparison. This supreme grade Black Gold Giant had probably reached the Emperor realm. F***ck. I can't use the divine sword technique now. Yi Xian raised an eyebrow and quickly kept Emperor Zijin into the devouring space. When this supreme grade Black Gold Giant saw Emperor Zijin disappear, its gaze fell on the sword god clone. Then it crawled out from the ground and rushed toward the sword god clone. Rumble! This supreme grade black gold giant was not slow. When it ran, it was like a super earthquake. In the blink of an eye, it was in front of the sword god clone. Bang! It stomped on the sword god's clone and the black gold sword servant. Crack! Although it had already advanced once, the black gold sword servant was still directly trampled to death. As for the sword god clone, he was not injured at all. It seemed that this matter could not be settled peacefully. There doesn't seem to be any powerful forces nearby. It seems that we can only wait, Yi Xian thought to himself. In the surrounding forces at most there were high-level half-step Emperor Realm people. Facing this supreme-grade black gold giant at the Emperor Realm was courting death. Therefore, Yi Xian could only let the sword god clone stall this supreme-grade black gold giant and wait. Wait for the black gold mine to produce black gold. Then make it into a quasi-emperor weapon, and let the divine sword technique cool down. Chapter 2051. Just like that, Yi Xian started to wait for time. This wait lasted for 10 days. After 10 days, the cooldown of the divine sword technique was finally over. Then, the sword god's doppelganger slashed at the supreme-grade black gold giant. The sword cut the supreme-grade black gold giant into two halves as if it was cutting tofu. Instant kill. Yi Xian immediately went over and kept the corpse. There was indeed a piece of supreme-grade black gold stone in the body of this supreme-grade black gold giant. Without hesitation, Yi Xian used it to strengthen the black gold sword servant. This time fortunately there was a black gold stone. Otherwise, Yi Xian would not have been able to obtain so many black gold stones and restore the cooldown of the divine sword technique. If this supreme-grade black gold giant was allowed to leave, this area would suffer a heavy blow. Fortunately, Yi Xian dealt with it. Since the matter was settled, Yi Xian would head to the Zijin family next. Before the Zijin family was trapped, there were hundreds of emperors in the Zijin family. He wondered how the Zijin family had developed now. According to the memories of the Zijin family, there was a one-way teleportation array that led back to the family. Therefore, Yi Xian spent 3 days to find this teleportation array. Whoosh! The teleportation array started to move. However, only the sword god's doppelganger was teleporting. Soon, the sword god's doppelganger landed. However, what surprised him was that the teleportation array seemed to have been abandoned for many years. This is a tragedy. The Zijin family actually moved away. Yi Xian rolled his eyes helplessly. It seemed that he had to search for the Zijin family. He hoped that the Zijin family had left behind some clues. He randomly chose a direction and headed forward. After a day he found a city. Therefore he went in to ask around. Unfortunately, most people had never heard of the Zijin family. This city was built later. However, he did not believe that no one here knew about it. Find the Zijin family, the former overlord of this area. Those who know will be rewarded with 10,000 black gold stones. Yi Xian went directly to the city lord's mansion. He spent some money and posted a reward. When this news came out, the entire city was in an uproar. 10,000 pieces of black gold rock was not a small number. Most people would have a headache when they heard this number. They didn't know how many there were. However, those with higher cultivation realms knew the value of this. Even the large families in the city might not be able to take out 10,000 pieces of black gold rock. And in this way, he only needed a single piece of information to obtain it. However, when these people heard the word Zijin clan, they were all dumbfounded. Who had heard of this family? Sigh, I have nowhere to spend my money. Yi Xian shook his head helplessly. Finally, on the 10th day after the mission was issued, someone finally used the communication token that Yi Xian had left in the city lord's mansion. I know where the Zijin clan is. A voice sounded from the communication token. Upon hearing this, Yi Xian hurriedly grabbed the communication token and replied, Where? I can tell you, but I want to know, why are you looking for the Zijin clan? Then why don't you tell me why you are asking this question? Yi Xian asked back. This question made the other party fall silent. After a long while, the other party replied, I am at the entrance of the city lord's mansion. Upon hearing this, Yi Xian hurriedly broke through the void and went over. Then, he saw a young man standing at the entrance of the city lord's mansion. After seeing this young man, Yi Xian was a little surprised because he felt that this young man was somewhat familiar. This aura seemed to be similar to Zi Yang's. Could it be that he was also a member of the Zijin clan? Coincidentally, Monarch Zijin was behind Yi Xian. When this young man saw Monarch Zijin, he was shocked. Big brother? The young man shouted. Yixian hurriedly recalled and realized that this young man was actually Monarch Zijin's younger brother, Ziyin. No wonder he knew where the Zijin clan was. So he was from the Zijin clan. Younger brother, it's you? Zijin was slightly surprised. The two brothers were actually able to meet in this place. Their luck was really good. Big brother, where have you been all these years? Why haven't I heard from you at all? Ziyin couldn't help but ask. I was sealed by Zifeng and only escaped recently. However, when I returned to the clan, I discovered that the clan had already moved away, Zijin replied. Zifeng? Ziyin raised his eyebrows and said, Bastard! Let's not talk about this for now. How is the clan now? Zijin asked again. The clan is fine. Previously, our clan found a place that was more suitable for the Zijin clan, so our entire clan moved there. However, Zifeng has already become the patriarch of the Zijin clan and changed the name to the Zijin clan, Ziyin said. When Zijin heard this, he couldn't help but mutter. As expected, he has become the patriarch. Zifeng is very capable. After becoming the patriarch, the clan has indeed continued to grow stronger. However, he acts arrogantly and is now pushing our clan aside. During this period of time, many clan members have died mysteriously. I suspect that he is the culprit, Ziyin said. Since Zifeng can attack me, he can naturally attack others as well, Zijin said. Zifeng was the son of his uncle and was related to him by blood. However, since he could attack him for the sake of power, after becoming the patriarch, he was naturally unrestrained. Thus, Zijin decided that he absolutely could not allow Zifeng to continue. However, although his current strength had recovered to that of a rank 8 half-step Imperial Emperor, it was simply insufficient for the current patriarch of the Black Gold clan. Big brother, follow me back to the clan first. Father will definitely be very happy, Ziyin said. Hearing this, Zijin directly shook his head. Back then Zifeng attacked me. If I were to appear now, wouldn't I be telling others about his scheme back then? No, big brother, you only need to disguise yourself. Furthermore, our branch has already separated from the main clan and has our own territory. Zifeng won't know, Ziyin said. Since that's the case, fine. Zijin nodded and agreed. After that, Ziyin brought Zijin and Yixian and hurried to the Zijin clan. On the way, Yixian also learned about the current situation of the Zijin clan. Before Zijin was sealed, his father was the patriarch. The Zijin clan possessed 100 Imperial Emperor-level experts. And now, the Zijin clan was so powerful that they possessed rank 6 Imperial Emperor-level experts. This was all thanks to the Black Gold vein. However, the Black Gold vein was in the Black Gold clan. After the Zijin clan moved out, they started to decline. After all, they were suppressed by Zifeng. Moving out could be considered to be in accordance with Zifeng's wishes. This time, although they had Ziyin leading the way to the Zijin clan, they still spent a month's time. Without Ziyin, it would likely take Yixian 3 months to find the Zijin clan. At this moment, Zijin had already disguised himself. Then he was led by Ziyin into the Zijin clan. On the way back, Ziyin had already informed the patriarch of this matter through a transmission talisman. Chapter 2052. Ding! Host has completed the second round of the chain random quest. After Zijin returned to the Zijin family, a system notification rang out in Yixian's mind. After Zijin's father heard about it, he was very happy and quickly came to see him. Zijin, you're finally back. Zijin's father, Zilai, couldn't help but say, Father, why do you look a little off? Although they hadn't seen each other for many years, Zijin still felt that something was off. Zilai paused for a moment before replying, Sai, just this morning another 3 clansmen died. Did Zifeng do it? Zijin asked. I'm not sure, but there's an 80% chance that it was him. We never found the corpses of those people, otherwise I could have revived them. Zilai shook his head helplessly. He was already a 5th rank Imperial Emperor expert. Reviving 1st rank and 2nd rank Imperial Emperors was extremely easy for him. However, without corpses, even a 9th rank Imperial Emperor would be powerless. This Zifeng is truly deranged. We were born from the same root, but he actually wants to exterminate our clan. Zijin couldn't help but say, There's nothing we can do about it. After all, the other branches are all subordinate to him. Moreover, he's also a 6th-rank imperial emperor. We're simply no match for him. Zilai shook his head. Everyone was silent. At this moment Zijin suddenly said, "Father, this is my savior Yixian. Moreover, he's very capable. We can get him to help us transform into my appearance and then confront Zifeng." This seems to be useless. Even if you confront him with his current abilities, no one would dare to say anything. Zilai shook his head. Then we can't let him do as he pleases. At most we'll just fight. Ziyin was also provoked and shouted angrily, "There's no rush. Zijin has extremely high cultivation talent. Now that he has the black goldstones, he can quickly recover his strength and break through. As long as he grows in secret, we won't have to fear Zifeng anymore." After Zilai finished speaking, he took out 10 black goldstones and said, "Zijin, these are 10 top-quality black goldstones. Take them and refine them." As expected of a great clan, they took out 10 top-quality black goldstones in one go. With these 10 top-quality black goldstones, Zijin might be able to quickly break through to 3rd-rank Imperial Emperor. At the current level, it was not only possible to increase one's level by stealing others' fates. As long as one strengthened one's own body or increased one's own saint energy, one's fate's level would be increased. In short, the stronger one was, the more they would be favored by the heavens. However, Supreme Monarch of Zijin was now under Yixian's control. Therefore, these 10 supreme-grade black gold ores would fall into Yixian's pocket. Ding, the host has triggered the 3rd round of the chain mission, Kill Zifeng. The system prompted. Previously, he had already spent quite a bit of time searching for the Zijin clan and hurrying on with his journey. If he did not hurry up, his rewards would be completely deducted. Therefore, Yixian asked Monarch Zijin to stay in the Zijin clan while the sword god Avatar left. Half of the 10 black gold stones were used to strengthen the black gold sword attendants. The rest were used as backups. When the time came, they could quickly cool down the divine sword technique. However, before Yixian left, he first dismembered Emperor of the Purple Gold. Apart from the head, everything else was devoured by the Mask of Authenticity. If Emperor of the Purple Gold did not die, it would be easy to recover. However, if it died, it would consume a large amount of fate to revive. Now, the Mask of Authenticity was already 80% authentic. Even Zijin's father Zilai would not be able to recognize it. Then Yixian asked the sword god Avatar to wear the Mask of Authenticity and disguise himself as Emperor of Zijin. He then headed to the Black Gold clan. This Black Gold clan was 100 times stronger than before. The current clan master, Zifeng, was already a rank 6 Imperial Emperor expert. Although Yixian's original body had experienced many things on the way to the Zijin clan, he was only a rank 9 half Imperial Emperor now. It was still not time for him to fight against Zifeng. However, he could start from other aspects. For example, the Black Gold Mine. At this moment, Yixian had already arrived near the Black Gold Mine. This place was an important area of the Black Gold clan. However, the sword god Avatar had the Void Spirit Divine Armor, which fooled many people. He arrived at the entrance of the Black Gold Mine. Then, he asked the Old Tree and Black Horn to make a diversion. Just like that, he entered the Black Gold Mine. This Black Gold Mine was hundreds or even thousands of times bigger than the one in the Devouring space. After all, this Black Gold Mine had been formed for countless years. However, only the center of the Black Gold Mine was guarded by experts. Under normal circumstances, it would be some ordinary people mining the Black Gold Mine. This time, Yixian wanted to make the Black Gold clan bleed a lot. Collect them. Without saying anything, he began to use the Devouring space to mine the Black Gold Mine. His speed was much faster than others. It was best for ordinary people to collect the complete Black Gold Mine. That way the price would be higher. However, Yixian was different. He did not have such a requirement. In any case, he just collected all of the Black Gold Mine. After all, these Black Gold Mine were all used by him to forge Emperor artifacts. In the following period of time, Yixian collected a large amount of Black Gold Mine. The amount was as high as 100,000. There were also many top-grade Black Gold Mine. The strength of the Black Gold Sword servants had undergone a tremendous change. At this moment, a nearby Black Gold clan expert noticed something amiss. He immediately went over to check. However, he did not find anything. However, just as he turned around, the sound of a strong wind came from behind him. Rip! A crisp sound was heard. This second-rank Imperial Emperor of the Black Gold clan was directly beheaded by Yi Xian. The heavenly fate and the corpse were all collected by Yi Xian in an instant. Now, he was standing on the side of the Purple Gold clan. Anyone from the Black Gold clan was his enemy. Yi Xian, who was already a half-step Imperial Emperor, was very lacking in heavenly fate. This was because as long as he had enough heavenly fate, he would be able to break through to the Imperial Emperor realm. Based on his current situation, this realm should not be too far away. In the following period of time, Yi Xian wandered around the Black Gold mine. Anyone from the Black Gold clan that he encountered could not escape death. However, these people's realms were not high. At most, they were only third-rank Imperial Emperors. Therefore, they all turned into Yi Xian's experience points. At this moment, Yi Xian had obtained another heavenly fate. He quickly devoured it. In the next moment, he heard a system notification sound. Ding! The heavenly fate has been upgraded to 34th grade. Host has broken through to first-rank Imperial Emperor. Finally, Yi Xian broke through. Although there was a difference of a whole realm between a half-step Imperial Emperor and an Imperial Emperor, the increase in strength was much less than that of a Samsara Dao Lord and a half-step Imperial Emperor. However, this was already very good. This meant that Yi Xian could go and see the depths of the Black Gold mine. The depths of the Black Gold mine was where the Black Gold mine was located. It was said that in the years when the Purple Gold Emperor was sealed, the Black Gold clan gave birth to 2 more disciples who had condensed the Black Gold mine. Chapter 2053. If I can obtain these 3 Black Gold ores, the expansion speed of the Black Gold ores in the devouring space will increase by several times. Yi Xian's eyes lit up. However, there were a large number of experts guarding the depths of the Black Gold ores. Other than the 5 rank 4 Imperial Emperors, there was also a rank 5 Imperial Emperor. This defense could be said to be impregnable. It would not be that easy to obtain the Black Gold ores from these people. However, it was even more impossible for him to stop Yi Xian at this level. Immediately, the Sword God's clone charged straight in. Furthermore, he immediately unleashed his ultimate move upon disagreeing. Divine Sword Technique. A divine sword appeared out of thin air and slashed down. With lightning speed, it killed one of the Imperial Emperors. In an instant, there was one less person. At this moment, there were only 4 rank 4 Imperial Emperors and that rank 5 Imperial Emperor left in the depths of the Black Gold ores. Battle God Mount. Black Gold Sword Attendant. The Sword God's clone first summoned the Old Tree and Black Horn. Then, he summoned the Battle God Mount and the Black Gold Sword Attendant. This time Yi Xian's summoning was not bad. He summoned a gold-ranked mount. Merely in this sort of situation, if this gold-ranked mount were to join hands with others, it would at the very most be able to stop 2 rank 4 Imperial Emperors. As for the rest, there was nothing they could do. However, their goal this time was not to kill everyone. Instead, they were going to obtain the 3 Black Gold ores. At this moment, Eye of Assassination. The Sword God's clone's eyes flashed. His figure instantly disappeared and appeared behind a rank 5 Imperial Emperor guarding the Black Gold ores. What? This rank 5 Imperial Emperor was extremely shocked. In the next moment, he saw the Sword God's clone slash out with his full strength. Clang! A crisp sound was heard. This rank 5 Imperial Emperor blocked the Sword God's clone's attack. However, in the next moment the sword in his hand suddenly exploded. The Sword God's clone also possessed the Demigod Sword God bloodline. Thus he possessed absolute control over swords. Furthermore, he was able to use Sword Burst. The better the quality of the sword in his hand, the more powerful Sword Burst would be. Of course, if the quality of the sword was too good, he would not be able to use Sword Burst. Bang! The sword shattered into countless pieces and instantly entered that rank 5 Imperial Emperor's body. Fortunately, this rank 5 Sovereign Emperor was a member of the Purple Gold clan. Furthermore, he had been strengthened by the Black Gold clan all year round, so his body was extremely tough. I'll take it. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the Sword God Avatar attacked again. Another divine sword fell and instantly broke the seal on the 3 Black Gold minerals. Then, the Black Gold minerals inside were directly absorbed into the Old Tree's devouring space. Previously, Yixian had collected a large amount of black gold ores. Therefore, after using the divine sword technique once, he immediately devoured the pseudo-emperor weapons and recovered his cooldown. Bastard! The reason for that was because those 3 black gold ores were the lifeblood of their black gold clan. If they were to lose them, their black gold clan would have no one to rely on in the future. It was precisely because it was so important that he, a rank 5 imperial emperor, was sent to oversee it. Other than that, there were also 5 rank 4 imperial emperors. His strength was already sufficient to face a rank 6 imperial emperor. Unfortunately, those 3 black gold minerals were still obtained by Yixian. We cannot stay here for long. Let's go. Without saying anything else, Yixian ordered the sword god avatar to retreat. However, he had taken away the black gold minerals. These people from the black gold clan would not let him off so easily. After that rank 5 imperial emperor attacked, the old tree, black horn and the silver mount all died miserably. As for that black gold sword attendant, because it had been strengthened many times, it was very resistant to grass and was still standing strong. You asked for this. At this moment, the sword god avatar flashed behind another person and slashed down again. Another divine sword appeared and killed a rank 4 imperial emperor. With the enormous black gold ores as support, the divine sword technique's cooldown recovery was very fast. Although it was impossible to forge a good emperor weapon with just black gold ores, Yixian did not have any other materials. Furthermore, he had the most black gold ores. Thus, he used them to increase the cooldown of the divine sword technique. Seeing that his companions had died miserably, that rank 5 imperial emperor immediately went mad. At the same time, the others also quickly reported this matter to Zifeng. What a joke. The Black Gold clan's most important black gold minerals had been snatched away. The importance of this matter was second only to the destruction of their clan. Unfortunately, if the sword god avatar wanted to leave, they would not be able to stop him. However, the sword god avatar did not have any intention of leaving. Instead, he silently put away the black gold sword attendant and acted as a punching bag. In any case, since he could not kill him, he would just vent his anger. At the same time, Yixian, who had obtained the 3 black gold minerals, had already planted them in his devouring space. The 4 black gold minerals were able to form black gold ores at all times. With every second that passed in the outside world, Yixian would gain something. How could this be described as pleasurable? After the Black Gold clan's current clan leader, Zifeng, received the news, he immediately rushed over. A bunch of trash. You can't even stop a single rank 1 imperial emperor? Zifeng cursed angrily. Clan leader. This person's abilities are exceptional. Furthermore, I do not know how he refined his body. My attacks were simply ineffective against him. Furthermore, I have already taken away his cosmos ring. However, the things inside are not in it. That rank 5 imperial emperor immediately replied. Humph. Zifeng immediately examined the sword god avatar carefully. Sure enough, the sword god avatar did not have any other cosmos rings on him. Feeling helpless, he decided to first capture the sword god avatar and then search his soul. However, it was impossible for him to capture the sword god avatar. One must know that the sword god avatar possessed an unparalleled body. Apart from being unparalleled, he was also immune to all sorts of oppressive might. Even if an eternal imperial emperor was present, they would not be able to suppress him. Whoosh! Zifeng turned into a ray of black light and flew toward the sword god avatar. He slapped his palm onto the sword god avatar's shoulder. However, in the next moment, the sword god avatar's figure instantly disappeared. Then, he appeared behind a rank 4 imperial emperor. Divine sword technique. Slash! In an instant, another rank 4 imperial emperor was killed. His corpse was taken away along with his destiny. However, this was already the last time Yixian used the divine sword technique. The black gold ores he obtained from the black gold ore vein had all been used up. However, he had already obtained 4 black gold ores. As long as he was given enough time, he would be able to recover. When the surrounding black gold families people saw that their clan leader was actually unable to do anything to the sword god avatar, they were astonished. A rank 6 imperial emperor was actually unable to injure a rank 2 imperial emperor? How was this possible? The battle here had also attracted the attention of many people. Immediately, there were people who were guessing who the sword god avatar was. He was actually able to withstand the attacks of a rank 6 Imperial Emperor head-on. Wasn't this a bit too frightening? Ha ha ha, the Black Gold family's people are actually unable to injure me in the slightest. Instead, their clansmen are continuously dying. If this matter were to spread, everyone in your Black Gold family would definitely know about it. Chapter 2054. Hearing those words, Zifeng's expression changed. Unfortunately, he was still unable to injure the sword god's clone. This battle continued for a very long time. No one from the Black Gold clan was able to injure the sword god's clone. On the other hand, the sword god's clone was able to rely on his extraordinary abilities to continuously kill the people from the Black Gold clan. In the end, Zifeng ordered everyone to retreat, leaving behind only him and the 3 rank 5 Imperial Emperors. The battle continued for an entire day. The sword god's clone was like an undefeatable god of war. He continuously fell and stood back up. This caused the surrounding people to be shocked speechless. Was this still a human? On the other side, after an entire day, the black gold or vein in the devouring space had expanded by quite a bit. The amount of black gold ore it produced was astonishingly large. The cooldown of the divine sword technique had already been restored. At this moment, the sword god's clone's figure suddenly flashed and disappeared. What? Where did he go? Zifeng was shocked. Even he, a rank 6 Imperial Emperor, was unable to see where the sword god's clone had gone. At this moment, the sword god's clone had already put on the Void Spirit divine armor and quietly left the battlefield. Then he suddenly reappeared. Divine sword technique. A heaven-cleaving divine sword instantly appeared and slashed down. SSSS. A rank 4 Imperial Emperor was sliced in two and died miserably on the spot. Everyone was dumbfounded. Before they could react, the sword god's clone had put away the corpse in Tianming. In the next moment, the sword god's clone's aura increased dramatically. Ding! Host made a breakthrough. Host is currently a rank 2 Imperial Emperor. Finally, after killing so many people, Yixian made a breakthrough. He now possessed the strength to kill rank 5 Imperial Emperors. However, as the cooldown of the divine sword technique had yet to be restored, he was still unable to kill them. At the same time, the people from the Black Gold clan and Zifeng also understood why Yixian was staying here. It turned out that he was toying with them. Yixian originally had the ability to escape. However, he refused to do so. It turned out that he wanted to make a false accusation. If this continued, the Black Gold clan would likely be annihilated. Who are you? Zifeng immediately stopped and asked. Hearing those words, the sword god's clone smiled. Then, he used the mask to transform into the appearance of the purple gold monarch. Immediately, someone recognized him. Purple gold. Zifeng was astonished. He naturally also recognized Zijin. After all, he was Zijin's older cousin. At the same time, he was also the one who had sealed Zijin. After he had sealed Zijin, he had taken over the position of family head. As his power and strength increased, he had forgotten about Zijin. Who would have thought that Zijin would actually be able to break through the seal and arrive here? Furthermore, his strength had increased. Cousin, back then when you ambushed me and sealed me, you definitely didn't expect me to see the light of day again, right? The sword god's clone sneered. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire crowd went into an uproar. So it turned out that Zijin had been sealed by Zifeng. No wonder they hadn't seen him all these years. So what if we're out? Zifeng snorted coldly. Right now, he was the patriarch of the Black Gold family, and at the same time he was also the strongest person in the Black Gold family. Even if the matter was exposed, so what? It seems that you admit it. However, this fact shouldn't have any effect on you. The sword god's clone smiled and glanced at the people around him. However, it's time for you to pay the price for your actions. You? Zifeng narrowed his eyes. That's right, me. After the sword god's clone finished speaking, his gaze landed on the 3 rank 5 Imperial Emperors. Then he said, right now I'll give you all a way to live. As long as you submit to me, you can be spared from death. Otherwise, even Zifeng will not be able to save you. Once those words were said, the 3 rank 5 Imperial Emperors glanced at each other. Was this something that a rank 2 Imperial Emperor could say? A mere rank 2 Imperial Emperor actually dared to threaten to kill them? He truly did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. However, it was precisely this rank 2 Imperial Emperor that killed several rank 4 Imperial Emperors right before their eyes. Most importantly, he had done it when he was a rank 1 Imperial Emperor. Now that he had broken through to rank 2 Imperial Emperor, his strength had definitely increased. In an instant, the 3 rank 5 Imperial Emperors started to hesitate. What a joke. You think you can incite them? Zifeng said with a face full of confidence. Although these 3 rank 5 Imperial Emperors were his seniors, they were all nurtured by him. Now Yixian wanted them to change sides. How was that possible? Kill. Before Yixian could say anything else, Zifeng had already attacked. After the 3 rank 5 Imperial Emperors glanced at each other, they also attacked. Rumble. The sounds of battle began to spread. Every single sound was extremely intimidating. In the beginning, the surrounding Black Gold clansmen all felt that Zifeng, a rank 6 Imperial Emperor, would definitely win. However, after an entire day of fighting, they no longer felt that way. Yixian had been beaten up for an entire day, yet he was actually not injured at all. This was truly strange. Furthermore, he was actually able to counterattack and kill others. This was simply not something that an ordinary person could do. If they were to continue fighting, there would come a day when all of their clansmen would die. Because of that, some people made a decision. Furthermore, the person who made this decision was one of the 3 rank 5 Imperial Emperors. Whoosh! Suddenly, the sound of air being torn apart was heard. Following that, a figure fell from the sky. The crowd focused their eyes and saw that the person who had attacked was actually one of the 3 rank 5 Imperial Emperors. However, the person who had been ambushed did not die. Instead, he was only seriously injured. What was even more frightening was yet to come. The third person actually raised his hand and attacked as well. Crap! When Zifeng heard the sound of wind, his expression changed greatly. He hurriedly tried to stop them. Unfortunately, he was still a step too late. Rip! A crisp sound was heard. That rank 5 Imperial Emperor's head was separated from his body. He died on the spot. Seeing this, the corners of Yixian's mouth curled up slightly. When the second person attacked, he had already used the death pursuit warrant and the Eye of Assassination to flash behind his opponent. Once his opponent died, he would be able to directly take away his corpse in heavenly fate. The 2 rank 5 Imperial Emperors who had attacked had actually already communicated with him and decided to switch sides. Although Zifeng was capable, he was too cruel. Not to mention those who had been ordered to assassinate him. Even ordinary people would not be able to escape death if they made a mistake. They were also afraid that they would be useless to Zifeng in the future and be killed. Thus, they immediately switched sides to Yixian's side. The 2 of you, are you not worthy of the top quality black gold stones I've given you all these years? Zifeng was furious. Zifeng, your dynasty has already passed. You should obediently surrender, shouted one of the rank 5 Imperial Emperors. You're courting death. Zifeng opened his eyes wide. He immediately understood the situation he was in. In the beginning, it was him who had led 3 rank 5 Imperial Emperors to besiege Yixian. Now, 2 rank 5 Imperial Emperors had switched sides and the third had been ambushed and killed. Chapter 2055. Fortunately, Zifeng had embezzled quite a few top-quality black gold ores over the years. Thus, he was extremely powerful. He was only a step away from becoming a rank 7 Imperial Emperor. However, Yixian's current strength was not weak either. After he obtained that rank 5 Imperial Emperor's heavenly fate, he immediately devoured it. Although he did not break through to rank 3 Imperial Emperor, his heavenly fate had increased by several grades. Furthermore, that rank 5 Imperial Emperor's Cosmos Ring also contained a large amount of black gold ores and top-quality black gold ores. After all, that rank 5 Imperial Emperor was one of the top figures of the Black Gold clan. How could he be poor? Thus, Yixian could now use the Divine Sword technique again. However, he could only use it once. Thus, he wanted to kill Zifeng in a single strike. In an instant, Yixian joined forces with the other 2 rank 5 Imperial Emperors and fought against Zifeng. If it were only those 2 rank 5 Imperial Emperors, they would definitely not be Zifeng's match. However, one must not forget that the Old Tree and Black Horn were capable of unlimited resurrection. Thus, they also joined the battle. In the beginning it was 3 against 1. Now it was 5 against 1. This greatly reduced the pressure. Not only that, but the Sword God's clone wearing the Void Spirit Divine armor was also very difficult to deal with. He would occasionally appear behind Zifeng and launch sneak attacks. This gave Zifeng a headache. In the beginning they fought for an entire day. Now Zifeng was facing these people's attacks. The speed of his consumption of heavenly fate was dozens of times faster than yesterday. If this continued, the consequences would be unimaginable. You all want me to die? Since that's the case, I'll drag you all down with me. Zifeng shouted angrily. His aura suddenly surged. Ordinary people would be able to recover if they only used heavenly fate to fight. However, Zifeng was currently burning his heavenly fate. In other words, he was continuously lowering his cultivation to obtain a powerful boost. In an instant the situation was reversed. The two of you retreat. We'll block them. The Sword God's clone shouted. Then he, the old tree and Black Horn charged forward. Apart from that, the Black Gold Sword attendants also appeared. After a day of recovery, the War God's mount skill could also be used. The Sword God's clone immediately used it. A black bone dragon was summoned out of thin air. An aura of death instantly spread, causing the surrounding people to feel suffocated. Ding! Wings of death successfully summoned. A system notification sounded in Yixian's mind. What surprised Yixian was that the black bone dragon that he summoned this time wasn't a silver or gold ranked one. Instead, it was a platinum mount that surpassed gold grade. This strength was not simple at all. Following the appearance of the wings of death, Zifeng's expression had already sunk to rock bottom. It seemed like they were in trouble. I don't believe that I will lose here. Zifeng roared furiously and fought with all his might. Unfortunately, 2 fists were no match for 4 hands. Yixian had more people on his side. Other than the 2 rank 5 Imperial Emperors, the Sword God's clone, the Black Gold Sword attendants, the Wings of Death, the Old Tree and Black Horn were all not easy to deal with. Even the others could see that Zifeng's momentum was gone. Sure enough, after the Wings of Death appeared, Zifeng was suppressed. He had to use Heaven's will to protect himself in case something unexpected happened. In the end, he decided to give it his all and directly transformed into his original form. He had jumped into the pit by himself. Main body? You are courting death. The Sword God's clone's eyes lit up. He directly transformed Wei Zhentian into the Beast God Bell. In an instant, Zifeng's strength decreased by 80%. What? Zifeng was a little confused. If he transformed into his original form, his strength would have increased. But now why did it decrease by so much? Before he could react, a heaven-cleaving divine sword slashed down on his head. Swoosh! In an instant, Zifeng was cut in half by the sword. As long as the divine sword technique could injure the enemy, even if it was just a scratch, it would trigger the one-hit kill effect. Not to mention, Zifeng was cut in half? Ding! Host has completed the chain random mission. Reward. God of War mount guaranteed summon gold grade. With Zifeng's death, a system notification sounded in Yixian's mind again. Hearing this, Yixian's eyes lit up. The God of War mount skill had a guaranteed summon, and it was gold grade? This meant that in the future, when he used the God of War mount skill, he would exclude ordinary mounts and even silver grade mounts. At the very least, he would be able to summon a gold grade mount. This was too awesome. At that moment, Yixian quickly kept Zifeng's body in Tianming, and then devoured them. Zifeng's Tianming was very close to becoming a 7th grade Imperial Emperor. After devouring him, Yixian broke through to become a 3rd grade Imperial Emperor. With his current strength, even if everyone here worked together, they might not be able to defeat him. From now on, Zijin will be your clan leader. At that moment, the Sword God's clone suddenly said. This sentence stunned the surrounding people. Zijin, aren't you Zijin? Before the crowd could react, the Sword God's clone released Zijin. At that moment, the crowd realized that the Sword God's clone was in disguise. No wonder his strength was so strong. Then Yixian did not care about the others. He directly ordered Black Horn and Old Tree to put the entire Black Gold clan into the devouring space. Such a huge clan gave Yixian a lot of convenience. For example, he had an 8-star genius. Ding! Host has completed the 7th round of the Sect Chain mission. Reward. Double the speed of the devouring space. The system notification sounded. Yixian could not remember how fast the devouring space was. In any case, 1 day in the outside world was more than 17,000 years in the devouring space. Double the speed of the devouring space did not mean that it would be 35,000 years, but more than 50,000 years. This was because it was double the speed of the devouring space, not double the speed of the devouring space. Now, 1 day in the outside world was 50,000 years in the devouring space. Although this was not very useful to those who lived in the devouring space, their lifespan was actually calculated according to the time in the outside world. To put it simply, their lifespan was 50,000 times longer than others of the same level. Not only that, but it also greatly increased the production capacity of the devouring space. As for the 8th round of the sect chain mission, it required 108 star geniuses. Moreover, they had to be eternal emperors. This mission was many times more difficult than the previous one. However, the more difficult the mission, the more generous the reward. It has already increased to more than 50,000 times. I wonder when Luoluo will wake up? At that moment, Yixian suddenly remembered something. Luoluo had fallen into a deep slumber. He wondered how powerful Luoluo would be after she became a stage 2 heavenly loathing fox. He would think about this later. Chapter 2056. However, with Yixian's breakthrough, the cooldown of the divine sword art increased as well. With Yixian's current wealth, it just so happened that the cooldown of the divine sword technique had been restored and he could use it again. At this moment, Yixian's attention suddenly fell on something. It was a yellow stone with a seal on it. However, after searching Zifeng's corpse, he found that it was an eternal fate stone. When half-step sovereign emperors and sovereign emperors died, their fate would leave their bodies and be obtained by someone else. However, if an eternal sovereign emperor died, their fate would condense into an eternal fate stone. To put it simply, this eternal destiny stone was formed from the fate of an eternal emperor realm expert. What the F***ck? Yixian was so shocked that he couldn't speak. Even if it was only a grade 1 eternal fate stone, it was at least a 67th rank fate stone. If Yixian devoured this eternal fate stone, his cultivation would advance by leaps and bounds. At the very least, he could become a 7th rank sovereign emperor, 8th rank sovereign emperor, or even 9th rank sovereign emperor. If the owner of this eternal fate stone wasn't a 1st rank sovereign emperor, Yixian could break through and become a 1st rank sovereign emperor. However, there was a seal on this eternal fate stone. This seal was probably placed by an eternal sovereign emperor. Zifeng is really pitiful. He obtained a priceless eternal fate stone by chance, but he can only watch as it's taken away. Yixian shook his head helplessly. Breaking the seal on this eternal fate stone was impossible for an ordinary person. However, one couldn't forget that Yixian had an extremely powerful trump card. The divine sword art. He immediately used his saint energy to lift the eternal fate stone into the air, then used the divine sword art. A heaven splitter divine sword appeared and slashed down. Yixian's control was pretty good. This divine sword just so happened to break the seal on the eternal destiny stone, and didn't cause any damage to it. Previously, he had always used the sky splitter divine sword to kill his enemies. However, this time he was using it to break the seal. However, this was definitely worth it. After the seal on the eternal destiny stone was broken, Yixian quickly put it away and devoured it. Ding! The eternal fate stone's grade is too high. Host cannot consume it. To Yixian's surprise, the stone couldn't be devoured. How high was this level? This eternal fate stone definitely doesn't belong to a rank 1 eternal emperor. It's probably even higher. Yixian's eyes lit up. Although he couldn't devour it now, he could in the future. There was no rush. As a result, Yixian directly threw the eternal destiny stone into his devouring space and didn't bother with it anymore. Now that the matter had been settled, all he needed to do was to return to the Zijing clan and absorb the entire Zijing clan into his devouring space. However, at this moment, Yixian suddenly raised his brows and hurriedly sank his mind into the devouring space. He saw that the eternal destiny stone that he had broken the seal and thrown into the devouring space had suddenly taken the initiative to fly to Luoluo's side. Then the eternal fate stone began to melt, turning into countless fates that entered Luoluo's body. After absorbing the fates, Luoluo's aura surged, but she didn't wake up. If it had been anyone else, Yixian would have stopped it. However, it was Luoluo who was changing. Moreover, it seemed to be a good sign, so he simply watched. Luoluo managed to absorb the eternal fate stone that even the devouring system couldn't devour? Yixian raised an eyebrow in disbelief. However, he knew that as long as Luoluo absorbed the eternal fate stone, her cultivation would definitely reach the eternal emperor level. Right now, 1 day in the outside world was equivalent to 50,000 years in the devouring space. As such, Luoluo only took half a minute to absorb the eternal fate stone. Half a minute later, the eternal destiny stone was completely absorbed. Not a single drop was left. Luoluo's aura had already reached the eternal emperor level. Haha! Yixian couldn't help but laugh. At that moment, Luoluo, who had been sleeping for many years, finally opened her sleepy eyes and woke up. Yixian immediately let Luoluo out. He smiled and said, "Little girl, you really can sleep." "Young master, long time no see." Luoluo giggled. Although it had only been a few months in the outside world, it had been almost 1,000,000 years in the devouring space since she had last fallen asleep. "Little girl, your cultivation level is much higher than mine as soon as you wake up. How do you feel?" Yixian asked. "Very good. Many times stronger than before." Luoluo nodded and said, "Moreover, my bloodline is boiling. It's very lively. I don't know why." "You must have just woken up. You'll be fine after a while," Yixian said. However, right after he finished saying those words, the sky above him suddenly cracked open. A golden light descended and enveloped Luoluo. "What?" Yixian raised his eyebrows. "What's going on?" "Young master, I can't move my body. I feel like I'm about to ascend. There's also a voice calling out to me," Luoluo said in surprise. Yixian was surprised. "What's that voice?" "I don't know. It seems like it wants to bring me to the 9th heaven." Luoluo shook her head. "The 9th heaven?" Yixian was shocked when he heard those 3 words. He was currently at the 5th heaven. Above him was the 6th heaven, followed by the 7th and 8th heaven. The 9th heaven was above the 8th heaven. It was the last heaven. Who was calling out to Luoluo? "Young master, I think I'm about to be brought up," Luoluo said hurriedly. Yixian immediately used the devouring space to envelop Luoluo. However, he was surprised to find that he couldn't absorb her this time. Where did this golden light come from? Before Yixian could react, Luoluo followed the golden light and began to ascend rapidly. "Stop!" Yixian shouted angrily and quickly followed. However, Luoluo soon reached the end of the 5th heaven. Then she rose into the dark night sky. Yixian was blocked by the closing crack. "Luoluo!" Yixian shouted in his heart. Unexpectedly, Luoluo didn't reply. As a mere 3rd-grade imperial emperor, he didn't have the ability to break through the 5th heaven. Moreover, Luoluo was being taken away by a 9th heaven expert. Even if his strength increased by 10,000 times, he wouldn't be able to catch up. Fortunately, he could still sense Luoluo's location. However, the distance between them was increasing at a terrifying speed. Chapter 2057. F***CK, who is it? Yixian could not help but curse. At this moment, he was extremely furious because he was unable to save Luoluo. He could only watch as Luoluo was taken away. Most importantly, he did not know who the other party was. If it was someone with ill intentions, wouldn't he be in trouble? Damn it! Yixian sensed the distance between him and Luoluo, and made a decision in his heart. He had to break through quickly and kill his way to the 9th heaven. Merely, he was currently only a rank 2 imperial emperor. Above imperial emperors were eternal emperors. After that, it was said that half-step ruler. He only had the memories of the 7th heaven. He did not even know what the 8th heaven was like, let alone the 9th heaven. However, right at this moment, "Brat, is the Zijin clan nearby?" Suddenly, an unfamiliar voice entered Yixian's ears. Yixian turned around and saw a middle-aged man looking at him. The latter's aura was actually that of a rank 6 imperial emperor. "That's right." Yixian nodded. "Very well, bring me there," the middle-aged man said in a commanding tone. "You want to order me around with just a sentence?" Earlier, when Luoluo was taken away by the mysterious person, Yixian was very angry. Now that someone who was not afraid of death had come to him, how could he not take this opportunity to flip out? How dare a mere rank 3 imperial emperor speak to me like this? The middle-aged man shouted angrily. Unexpectedly, Yi Xian directly attacked. Whoosh! The sound of wind suddenly came from behind, causing the middle-aged man's body to tremble. In the next instant, his head was separated from his body. This person had truly come at the wrong time. He just happened to bump into him. Yi Xian quickly put away the corpse in heavenly fate. Then he began to search his soul. It turned out that this middle-aged man was ordered to find the patriarch of the Black Gold clan, Zifeng. However, the Black Gold clan was nowhere to be found, so he came to the Zijin clan. He came from a peak city in the 5th heaven. The Black Gold clan used to exchange black gold stones for other resources, such as heavenly fate stones. So, I can use black gold to exchange for destiny stones. Yi Xian's eyes narrowed as he immediately headed towards the top city called Heaven Marshal City. The Black Gold tribe was not very far from the Heaven Marshal City. Yi Xian spent 5 days to arrive at the Black Gold tribe. At the same time in these 5 days, the black gold vein in the devouring space had begun to take shape, producing a lot of black gold oregon. He immediately entered the Heaven Marshal City and went straight to the City Lord Mansion. Yi Xian had sold all of the black gold stones and supreme quality black gold stones for destiny stones, leaving only a few for backup. 5 days ago, after he devoured that middle-aged man's destiny stone, he was already on the verge of making a breakthrough. Now that he had obtained a large amount of destiny stones, he directly broke through to rank 4 Imperial Monarch. However, in the battle earlier, he had used the Divine Sword technique multiple times and exhausted a large amount of black golden stones. Otherwise, he might have been able to break through to rank 5 Imperial Lord. However, right at this moment, suddenly, a group of black figures appeared from the horizon. They quickly approached the Heaven Marshal City. When the Heaven Marshal City's City Lord sensed them, he immediately leaped into the sky. Who are you? The Heaven Marshal City's City Lord was a rank 9 Imperial Lord. He could be considered to be an overlord in the 5th heaven. This time, although there were only 50 people heading for the Marshal Heaven City, all of them were experts. All of them were high-level Imperial Emperors. Without saying anything, they directly launched a concentrated attack at the Heaven Marshal City's City Lord. It's the Marauder Squad. The Heaven Marshal City's City Lord's expression changed. He immediately reacted and shouted. The Marauder Squad was a squad that specialized in killing others and plundering their destiny stones to rapidly increase their strength. Wherever they passed, not a single blade of grass would grow. They would practically massacre the entire city. The arrival of this Marauder Squad caught the attention of the Heaven Marshal City. Immediately, the experts from the City Lord's mansion rushed out to meet them. As the City Lord's mansion, they naturally had to shoulder the heavy responsibility of protecting the city. However, this time around, the City Lord's mansion was slightly powerless. The reason for that was because this Marauder Squad was from the 6th heaven. There were 2 rank 9 Imperial Lords in this Marauder Squad. The City Lord is no match for them. Everyone quickly helped them. Immediately, the citizens of the Heaven Marshal City all acted. If the City Lord were to die, their Heaven Marshal City would likely be destroyed. Not many people would be able to survive. In this sort of situation, they had to be of one mind to face the enemy together. Yi Xian just so happened to encounter this good show. However, he did not immediately act. Instead, he watched from the sidelines. This Marauder Squad was very powerful. The weakest among them was a rank 7 Imperial Lord. It was already not something that he could interfere with. However, he could still fish in troubled waters. Immediately, he released the Black Gold Sword attendants, Old Tree and Black Horn. Of course, the Yi Xian who was in the Heaven Marshal City was not his actual body. Instead, it was only his sword god clone. Thus, he was not worried at all. Rumble. In the sky above the Heaven Marshal City, a world-shaking battle unfolded. A total of 1,000 people participated in the battle. However, right at this moment a battle broke out in the Heaven Marshal City. Battles also broke out in the Heaven Marshal City. Some people with bad intentions took advantage of the chaos to kill others and steal their treasures. Yi Xian did not bother to pay attention to them. After all, he was not a saint. There was no need for him to act like a saint in this world where the strong were respected. His attention was completely focused on the battle in the sky. The time has come. Attack. Yi Xian's eyes flashed. He immediately gave the order. Immediately, the sword god clone and the others all moved out. They activated plundering mode. Their main goal was to obtain cosmos rings and heavenly wills. The sword god clone possessed the void spirit divine armor. Adding on the eyes of assassination, his plundering speed was astonishingly fast. In the blink of an eye, he had obtained several cosmos rings and 2 rank 5 Imperial Lord heavenly wills. This battle would definitely result in disastrous casualties. If his luck was good, Yi Xian might be able to break through to rank 5 Imperial Lord. However, there were also quite a few people who had the same idea as Yi Xian. In an instant, a conflict occurred in the Heaven Marshal City. It turned into a great battle. Yi Xian did not care too much, as there were already people from the Heaven Marshal City that were attacking him. His eyes flashed. He directly ordered Old Tree and the others to stand in position. Then he used his trump card. Divine Sword Technique. A heaven-cleaving divine sword appeared and directly slashed down. Some people were unable to dodge in time and were directly killed. Then, their corpses and heavenly wills were instantly collected. Among them, there was even a rank 7 Imperial Lord from the plundering squad. Unfortunately, Yi Xian was still unable to make a breakthrough in his cultivation. As the people from the Heaven Marshal City were not